Welcome everybody to today's stream. Welcome, welcome. I hope you had a nice day so far. Let me know if my voice is too loud or if it's fine. I have a new microphone set up. Welcome, welcome. Today we're gonna play some Power Vindicator. Let's see if I can actually reach a decent number here. It's after all, it's a very nice build. It got buffed with the latest balance patch. But it's also very melee oriented, so it's always quite hard actually to get very high numbers in actual fights. But I will try my best to make this a good showcase of the build. And as always, if you have any questions, please let me know. But other than that, let's enjoy our stream together. So if you're wondering about the stream title, so I'm looking for advice regarding Fashion in GW2 2. Welcome, EchoFox, welcome, welcome. Let me know if the sound mix is good enough, if my voice is too loud, the music too loud or whatever, because I'm having a new setup for my microphone. And I wanted to know if that's actually better or if it's too, I don't know, way too loud, way too little, too quiet, whatever. Welcome, Otterish, welcome, welcome. So let me know if it's good, or if you even can't hear me at all. I don't know. It should work, but I mean, could happen, you know. It's after all streaming, you know. Sounds kind of weird. Not sure about how to play. What about volume? Okay. So does it sound really bad, or is it just, let's say, different than usual? Because it should be different. Because I would say, if it's just different, then I'm happy. Yeah, I could listen to my own stream. I know, but it would be weird if you know, you are the people that are listening to my stream. If I am happy with my stream and you are not, then I have to change stuff. Not for my own good. That makes sense. Yeah, the problem is it's for me, you know, it was quite urgent to change, but it's so to say, I made it work for the stream today. If it's not that good, I will have to change it for tomorrow's stream. Was a little bit on a short notice, so to say. Welcome, Dino, welcome. So I hope it's okay for today and not too bad, the voice. So as you can see, we are playing some Vindicator today. I want to showcase a little bit of Power Vindicator. I'm not the biggest expert on the build, but I really enjoy the fast-paced and fluid blade style, and I hope I actually can showcase this, at least in this group, quite decently well, how good this build works actually after the buffs. But we are waiting here for minutes just for the last person. It's actually crazy. I tried Renegade in World vs. World Circle today. That was interesting. Yeah, a Renegade is such a weird pick, especially in the competitive modes. Currently, it feels like it has a very, very decent spot. But the question is it fun to play? And especially, is it fun to counterplay? Come on. People that can't wait, it's always a problem. Yeah, I'm not the biggest expert when it comes to Renegade, so I can't tell you if it's really, you know, if that's the thing that you need to play, and if it's really good. But I personally think it's a very decent build, for sure. And I think the Spirit rework, I actually like that they reworked something like that. But personally, I think it's also a very, very big rework in that sense. And it's for competitive modes, it broke it a bit, especially in PvP. I mean, I'm not sure if you played PvP right now, but it's currently in PvP, it's very, very strong. I'm not sure if it's that broken in World vs. World, but personally, it's a really... You see, this is where I can't get into range of this boss, and then I'm a little bit struggling here with the DPS uptime. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not the biggest expert on Renegade in competitive modes, that is. I will try it out, and if it's really good, then I will also do a build guide about it, don't worry. But personally, I think it's actually, it's not my favorite design of Elite Spec. It's just so to say, pet heavy, if that makes sense. I don't know. I was putting out good damage numbers with shortbow, spear, Marodigan. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Spear and shortbow are really good in Zerg play, especially on some kind of Vindicator, maybe even some kind of... I think all Renegades and are quite decent in Zerg play, for that matter, actually. Oh, my rotation is so bad. I'm not good at this, I have to be honest. Especially in this fight where we have so much ranged time as well. But Scourge is not too bad, actually. Yeah, I mean, the Scourge is quite good, but the thing is, I should here be way better here. I'm just way too, you know, new to this build. And especially if I have to spread every single time, even though I'm a melee build, that's obviously not helping. That's not helping. Hey, some new players want to get into hardcore PvP. What classes are the best builds for ranked solo queue? Well, that's a tough question. So first of all, ranked is in a not that good spot for the most part, but I would at the hardcore scene, that is. So I would say if you really want to go hardcore into PvP, I personally think going for they killed each other. Interesting. I would go for Herald is actually quite good right now, and even Renegade is actually quite good as well. So I would say for the most part, it's actually a quite Revenant-oriented meta if you're going hardcore. But of course, the classical hardcore classes like Staff, Tempest, Chronomancer, those are still very, very good as well. So I would say if you don't mind playing support, that's probably the best choice that you have. On the side note, Dagger Catalyst is extremely strong. So there are a lot of options there. All the ones that are counted now are probably safe bets for sure. The Reaper in your group should use your build X sword. Yeah, definitely. The Reaper, the two Reapers are actually failing their rotation even harder than I am. So that can happen. That can happen. Yeah, I think this is actually not a very good fight to actually showcase this boss, I have to be honest, because I'm this build, because I'm permanently having to do some kind of mechanics here, and my group is even dying here. I don't even know what they are doing. I'm not even sure if we can kill this now. Interesting. This boss is apparently too hard. I think I'm going to try out normal PvP first time this week, like Willbender in. Yeah, I mean Willbender is a very good pick in PvP right now. It's not as broken as it once was, so don't let's say expect to actually win just because of playing Willbender. That's not the case anymore. But it's, in my opinion, definitely a very good pick. I like to play it. It's quite fast-paced, and you can actually carry matches, and I think that's very important into PvP right now. Is just to carry people, you need a build that can deal damage on its own, and not if you play support and you play perfect. Sometimes you have matches where you can't win, just straight up, because your team is just not using you as a support. That's a big problem. Any engineer builds? Engineer in PvP is sadly not good. That's the really big issue. Engineer is currently probably one of the worst classes to play in PvP. It's not bad, you can make it work, but if you want an easy time, I would recommend something else. Yeah. Fashion advice doesn't matter that much what armors you put together. I mean, that's good advice. I mean, I'm really bad at fashioning Guild Wars 2. I have a lot of skins and I don't have any clue what actually is good looking and that kind of stuff. So I wanted to get some opinion, especially on weapon skins. So what is your favorite sword skin? That's my question for now, because I wanted to start maybe some kind of series on YouTube where I talk about cool sword skins. And as I can showcase most of them in the game itself and don't have to preview it only, I wanted to maybe give you the chance to raise your opinion, so to say, and tell me what is actually a very good sword skin in your opinion. They broke TP? Really, I didn't even notice. Now let's go more aggressive here. I mean, I can't play this build without going melee here. They broke the TP. Let's check if that's true. I mean, for me it works, I'm not sure. What are the top 3 non-support builds? Power Herald with Spear in PvP, Dagger Catalyst on a side note, and maybe even Spectre as a support. So not a support Spectre, but some kind of Condi Spectre on the side note. Or not side note, but as a roamer. Those probably really good ones. Yeah, that's Exitare. Okay, that's a great sword skin though, but I would agree Exitare, or the precursor of how is it called? How is the one called? I know this skin. I have it. How is it called? No ranged. No ranged is typical. I mean, Power Herald with Spear is some kind of range build, but I would typically say not a lot of builds currently are really crazy ranged focused in PvP. Sadly, yeah. Rival Hole, probably Blast Strike now. Welcome. Thanks for the raid. Really appreciate it. General Yuki, what did you do? Did you play some Guild Wars? Very nice. Exordium, that's the name. Very good. Yes, that's the name that I wanted. Yeah. So what are they? Let's quickly show what they need. Okay. They need DPS. Okay, then I will go DPS, I guess. So I don't want to play I need a range build for this fight. This much is for sure. So I will go Kata. I guess. And I don't trust them. That's the main reason here. I don't trust them. So we go Quickness Cutter. Don't tell them. The reason is if you go into Cold War in the strike mission, it's quite likely that you have some kind of build that is actually not able to upkeep 100% quickness or alacrity. So I will just go for a quickness build, quickness DPS build, and will probably be fine. Anyway, so Rival Holosmith is not that good, sadly. So the problem is Holosmith is very squishy in PvP. So you can play it. It's very good in some kind of capable hands, and you can play some bunker build as well. But in comparison to the other specs like Renegade, like Power Herald and stuff, it just is not on par. It's just a little bit worse. That's the sad truth. Yeah. Yeah, we will talk about the fashion later. So I'm a little bit, you know, I of course you have to mix and match stuff, yeah. But if I look, for example, at the skin, like, how is it called? Exordium. Thanks, Dino, for the prime. Really appreciate it. So if you look at Exordium, yeah, this skin, I think, is a very nice skin. But I wouldn't fit it on every class, especially if you have an outfit like I currently have. That's not fitting at all. Red and blue, I think that's not perfectly fitting. But if you're like a Guardian or something, even some kind of Revenant, that can be really, really good. So I feel like, yes, you're right. Of course, it has to fit your style. But I personally think you can still rate if a sword skin or a great sword skin, for whatever reason, is very nice looking in general. That's my personal take. And I think you can make a top tier list of something, and maybe you have some input on that, and we can make some nice community top 10 list for swords, maybe, if you're interested in that. Try selling something? Okay, let's try. I mean, does it not work? For me, it works. Well, wild. Maybe not everyone has the problem. Greatsword. The Greatsword skin is a nice one. It's a really classic one for Greatsword. That's true. But it's. I personally think it's got a little power crept from other skins in terms of flashiness. But I think the raw base skin is really cool. I agree. Yeah. No range build. No. Yeah. Revenant is probably the best one, the Spear with 600 range in there, but no real 1200 range. I mean, Spectre is ranged, but Spectre is also melee because of the Shroud aspect of it, so I think it depends a bit on what kind of... You can't stick at range at 1000 range or something all the time. You have to go on the node at any time, I would say, so full ranged in PvP is not working. When I logged in today, there was a problem with selling it, but now it's fine. It was like 5 minutes for me. Yeah, sometimes they fix stuff like that. So we will just stack some quickness here. Can you show me which option to check to have a mouse pointer like that? Yeah, sadly, it's not one option in Guild Wars 2. It's like you have to download the Splish Hut. It's a third-party add-on. And this will give you access to the modules, and one of them is mouse cursor add-on, and this will give you this nice blue cursor. I have a guide on my YouTube channel how to get the Splish Hut, so you can check that out as well. Yeah, sorry. Welcome, Alison. Welcome, welcome. The Twilight is also a very nice skin. I would agree. I think Twilight is one of the most classic greatsword skins because it's just a very nice looking legendary, but it is very flashy. So people that want to have some kind of down to the ground, some grounded options, some not really, you know, crazy flashy options, that might not be for them. That's probably true. I personally like it quite a lot. I think it's a nice skin. It doesn't fit every character. For example, I feel like on a Guardian it's not that perfect because a Guardian is more like a warrior of light, so to say, and Greatsword is, let's say, more sunrise. But I don't know. Personally, I think it's a very nice skin. That much is for sure. You see top DPS or quickness, even though my party is already having quickness apparently. I don't know. Doesn't matter that much. It's after all only Cold War. Do you play with MMO mouse? Yes, I'm playing with an MMO mouse. That's why I have my 6 to 0 keys bound like they are default bound, and I have it on my mouse. So my MMO mouse are having, I think it has 12 buttons extra or something like that. So I can use all of them just with my thumb. Yeah, I think they power grabbed fashion quite a lot. I mean, that sounds like a stupid thing to say. I know. It sounds really, really weird. Yes, but I personally think it's true. Over the years, they had to make skins to more flashy, more some kind of more unique, more to just sell them. You know, they have to sell them at some point. And if you already have crazy good skins, why would you get a new skin? Yeah. But if the new skin is a little bit better in terms of effects, in terms of just general look or how it fits your character, you will go for it. Yeah, and that's how they make their money, especially with the gem store. But also if they come out with a new legendary, oftentimes it's like the new legendary is also a reason to stick to the game. So they want to make it flashy as well. Yeah, that's just how they do it. Yeah, I think that's not a bad thing in general. It could be bad, but I think in Guild Wars 2 it's okay how they manage it. So yeah, personally I think it's okay if they do it like that. Would you recommend MMO mouse, or is your thumb pulling off? I personally am really accustomed to having an MMO mouse, but if you don't like that to control a lot of stuff with your mouse, then of course then I wouldn't recommend it. And I personally also think for Guild Wars 2 especially, it's not necessary. You don't have that many skills on your bar all the time. It's not like in Final Fantasy or World of Warcraft or all the other crazy MMOs with their 10 buttons on top of 10 buttons on top of 10 buttons with the hotbars. So typically in Guild Wars 2 it's not necessary, but I feel like I'm very comfortable right now with it. So I would recommend it for players that want to have a lot of keybinds. Not only their typical keybinds like healing skill and stuff, but also, for example, looking behind you, maybe about face, all those kinds of stuff. There are a lot of buttons that you can use in Guild Wars 2. And if you bind them all to something that is close to WASD, then you will at some point run out of keys, yeah, on the keyboard. And I really like to have an option to bind more keys to that, for example, on my MMO mouse. That's my whole reasoning here. But it doesn't really, it's not necessary for most players. That's my answer to that. I think that would be a very good option to actually get, for example, Holosmith weapon on just other classes as well. Like the Holosmith, just, how is it called? Holoforge skin on other weapons, on other classes, on swords, for example. That would be really cool. I would agree. I mean, you can do that. There are some skills that are somewhat close to that, but they are not perfectly the same. Yeah, I would. That's a really cool idea. Really cool idea. Flashy water dynamism, okay, until people put Celestial or Shadow Abyss dive to every single die slot. I mean, that's definitely a very true statement. Especially permafrost is probably the biggest reason. If you go for Celestial, Shadow Abyss, and permafrost die, then you have so crazy amount of just raw white and bright colors. It's actually insane. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, if you have the problem in Guild Wars 2 that you don't have any keybinds left, I would recommend going for an MMOs. If you're already at that spot, I think going for an MMOs, you will have, in the long run, quite a lot of fun with it, personally, yeah. Of course, that's only for people that need that many keybinds. For example, if you don't mind using only a few of those keybinds, for example, you don't use your about face key, or you don't need to slot any crazy keys other than your utility skills, I think you can find 5 or maybe 6 to 7 slots next to your WASD. But if you have 5 more, maybe 10 more, then it gets a little bit hard. And that's why I like my MMOs. Oh, the giveaway is still not working. Yeah, okay. Give me a second. I can link you to the... I have currently on my YouTube channel, I reached 5k subs. So I wanted to do a giveaway, and it's still going. So if you want to join, and just do so and watch this video, and then you can join the giveaway. Sorry, sometimes the bot doesn't react. Yeah. But in general, I think, I personally think they could make a lot of money just increasing the amount of skins that you can earn in the game for various interesting achievements, or maybe even make them just get them with gold, not from the gem store only. That would also increase just the amount of people being interested in that content, I think, and that's what they are doing in the last few patches. Even though the map doesn't have that much new content, I think they actually have a decent amount of skins on the new maps. There might be an argument to be made to say, okay, it's actually not that crazy good skins. Yeah, that could be true, but at least we get some new skins. And I feel like, especially if you have a full new armor set or a full weapon set, that's actually quite a lot of skins that you get there. Personally, yeah. I mean, maybe someone else would say, no, those skins are bad. Better having just one very good looking skin. Maybe that's true as well. But I personally think it's still... I like it to go for more different skins, even though I don't use them. Just collecting them, I like that. Well, we will not kill this, I guess. Well, maybe 10 seconds. It's doable. Nice. But we didn't get the 7th chest. Okay, that's a problem, but still, okay. As always, if you have any questions, any comments, please let me know. I'm always happy to answer. Where's my alacrity? Please give me alacrity. It feels really, really bad if you don't have any alacrity on Elementalist. You have so many skills that you really want to use all your skills and get the cooldowns. Ooh, I have to be careful with this one. Nice. We got them off. Yeah, so I personally, of course, I like the legendary sword skins. I think they are quite nice. But even without legendaries, I think you can have some crazy cool sword skins. So I will show you some of them that I really enjoyed. But why are there actually enemies still there? Is this bug? That's crazy. Normally they despawn. Actually happening. Insane. Yeah, so I personally, for example, like Shining Blade. It's a legendary, yes, but there are other blades that I like a lot as well. Nice bug. Yeah, it's an interesting bug, that much is for sure. I mean, I guess I have more targets, but doesn't look like a very fair fight in that sense. Very interesting. And she is also stealthing all the time. This is so bugged. Holy shit. I have to be careful. If I die 2 more times, I will be instantly dead. Okay. Fashion on medium armor classes is hard. So many codes. I've been trying to make a Shadow Priest outfit for my Spectre, but it's hard. Yeah, I feel like medium armor classes, especially if you want to go for some kind of crazy armor and not outfit, then you have a hard time finding anything other than codes. That's a big problem. I think it was one of the biggest criticism when the legendary armors came out, that they were again some kind of code style thing. So I'm personally, I think sometimes codes are good, but I think only having codes is not something crazy fun. But I mean, what can you do, you know? You take what you get, I guess. What you can get. I guess now we killed the enemies. That's good, I guess. Yeah, I think thanks for the follow, by the way, Purple Freak. Really appreciate it. And I personally think swords are probably my favorite weapon from a baseline design in Guild Wars 2. I think there are a lot of crazy good skins in the sword category. We will go over them later. But I feel like, for example, there is this pink one, this pink glowing ghosty sword. I think that's a really nice one as well. I don't even know how it's called, Illusion or something like that. It fits so well to a Mesmer or Whisper Blade, one of those two names. It's really good. And I like the fractal swords, all of them, the white one, the gold one, the purple one. I think all of them are actually quite nice. They have a cool trail. And I think there are so many sword skins that are actually really nice and really cool to use. Just, of course, the legendaries are the most flashy ones, yes. But I personally think it's still a very, very cool category. There are definitely way worse weapon designs out there. So how is it called? Let me check. Sword. So for example, this one, the fractal, the pink or dark purple fractal sword, I think this is also a very nice one. It doesn't have any, so to say, footstep effect or something, but it has this nice trail effect when you move. And it's also, I think, very fitting for some kind of Revenant or Mesmer. I think it's a really nice one. I like that one a lot. And here's the other one. Here's the other one. I like one very classic old school one. This one is, I think, such a fitting one for example, for Necromancer or something. I think it's very cheap now to get. But back in the old day, I think this came out with the Ether Path dungeon. So it was over 10 years ago or something. This is a really nice weapon. I personally like it a lot. What else do we have? This one I like. This is a very, common. A lot of people use this weapon set, Shimmering Aurora. This is just a very nice one in general. You see, this is a newer not legendary, but it's a newer skin. You can see how many more effects it has in comparison to an older skin. Yeah. I would say, how is it called? Whisper Blade. That's correct. Nice. Thanks for telling me, Whisper Blade. Yeah. I think the Whisper Blade is just a very basic sword skin, but the purplish effect makes it perfect for Mesmer. I wouldn't use it on any other class, I would say, but on a Mesmer it fits very well. I think this is a very basic old school skin that is still holding up to some extent. What's good stats for Shortbow mech? Diviner, Berserker? Yeah, I would go for a mix of Diviner and Berserker. Yeah, I have a lot of skins, that is true. That was one of my goals, or is still one of my goals, getting full wardrobe. I have a lot of skins, a lot of legendaries. I have not all of the skins, as you can see, but quite a lot of them. And I have all of them from the wardrobe unlock thingy. So that's why I have so many. Yeah. I like daggers more, using Primadonna on main hand, especially Virtuoso. That is true. I think dagger has some very nice skins as well, but I think overall I like to have swords, because swords typically in Guild Wars 2 are like a bigger dagger, and I feel like the daggers sometimes are just too big and they could be swords as well. So I think I would rather have a sword that is realistically big and not absolutely insane how big the dagger is. That's personally my thing. Nice, you got the Seasons of Dragon achievement. Very good. Yeah, what else do we have? I mean, there are so many swords nowadays, or skins in general, that are quite good. What do you think is another good one? I think, of course, the legendary. So we have Shining Blade. Where is it? I really like Shining Blade. I think Shining Blade is one of the very good looking ones. I think this is one of the best legendaries from the baseline look. I really like it. I don't like the footsteps, but I like the animation and stuff. I think it's a really nice one. I don't like sword in terms of the bold one, the classic bold one. I think the skin of bold is not that crazy. I like the effects of bold, the lightnings and stuff, but if you would remove the lightning effect of bold, it would look quite bad, I would say. It's more like some kind of, looks like a fence or something, and you just broke a part out of it. I'm not the biggest fan of it, to be honest. I got a Chuck infusion as a drop. I mean, congrats to you. What infusion do you recommend stacking it with, or should I sell it? I personally would sell it. I personally think infusions are just a cosmetic item and you might get bored of it after a few weeks and you can use it until then, yes, of course. But personally, I think it's way better to go for more legendaries or more convenience items like backslot and stuff than going for a 10k item or something. I personally wouldn't keep it. Yeah. Yeah, Shining Blade is the best legendary. Yeah, I think Shining Blade is one of the best. That's much so sure. I'm not sure if I would call it the best one, but it's definitely a really, really good one. I mean, if you already have all the legendaries and you don't need the money, then of course you can keep it. And then I don't know. I'm not a cosmetic enjoyer. I don't have that many infusions lying around, so I'm the wrong one to ask. But I personally would still sell it. You know, I'd rather have some money and go for more legendaries or something like that than having one character with a crazy look. I play too many characters to actually make use out of that. But still, that's my take. Chaos weapons are simple but have good silhouettes. That's true. Chaos weapons are also quite nice. I think the chaos weapons, if you could dye them, they would be absolute best weapons in the game. But I feel like the chaos weapons are not perfect for every single class. For example, I feel like on a necromancer it's somewhat weird because it's too bright. I think on a guardian it's really nice. Maybe on a Mesmer it fits quite well. On a ranger, I don't know, it depends a bit, but I feel like on a guardian it's a really good set. I like the general how the sword it just looks. I think it's really nice, but I think you have to make a look around. I think you're just using the chaos sword is a little bit over the top often. Personally, yeah. The golden Drakar weapons. I'm not sure if I have those. How are they called? How are they called? I don't know how they are called, but I probably don't have them because they are bound to you have to find them when you kill a Drakar, I guess. My goal at the moment is legendary accessories. I mean, that makes sense. Those are really good. I would definitely go for them. If you have the time and money for it, then that's a very good investment, personally. Yeah. Broken voice. Thanks. Broken voice. I actually have it. This one, for example, is for a sword. Personally, I would say too small. Yeah, I would say this is like a middle ground between a dagger and a sword. I think the skin itself is okay. I wouldn't say it's a bad one. I think it would just be better if it's longer, you know, as it's a sword after all. So it could be a little bit longer. That would be my just improvement on this. I personally think it's a nice one, but I'm not sure if it's the best one. I mean, it's after all personal taste, yeah. What are the other contenders for best legendary look-wise? I think I made a tier list about it a while ago, and it took 2 hours or something, so I can't give you, let's say, a summary in 1 or 2 sentences, but I would say I like Eternity, I like Pharos, I like Exordium. What else do I like? Of course, Shining Blade. And I will probably forget some of them. I don't know. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Thanks a lot for your video. I'm new Power Reaper group content. Sadly, I'm excited to contribute the 75 crit chance by using Assassin Pieces. Is it that bad? I would say if you can't get to 75% crit chance in PvE without Fury, then it's not too bad. But I personally think you should aim to get at least as much Ascended Pieces to actually go to 75% crit chance, because that's a big damage increase, you know. Not critting is always a big problem. So if you can get that with only exotics because you go for more Assassin Pieces, that's good. But it's not too bad if you can't until you get Ascended. I think then your goal should always be going for full Ascended then. Or at least getting next to full Ascended so that you can get at least 75% crit chance. That's my tip there. Yes, that's true. Size doesn't matter. Very good. But I think just for the look, I think that looks more like a dagger than a sword, personally. Yeah, that's just my take. Yeah. At what point is that a short sword? Very good point. I don't know. There is apparently, if you look at some daggers, some of them are just so big that you would easily say this is a dagger and the other thing is a sword. So let's check it out. We have, I don't know, the Urin dagger. Yeah, look at this. Look at this. Just I wield it differently than the sword, but it's almost double the size than the sword that I just showed you. This is a dagger. It's insane. This is a big difference, I think. And I think they should at least make the sizes somewhat similar of those skins, personally. Yeah. I think old is for me decent, but it's not one of the best legendaries. I think it does only have the effects, and I personally think that's not enough to make it a really cool skin. I would rather use a skin like those abyssal fractal weapons that are having some kind of really cool skin, even though they don't have that crazy effects. That's my take. Maybe I'm different here, but I personally think that's just very, fitting to the build that I want to use them in. Yeah, the original one. Sacrificial Blade. Yeah, that's true. This is such an original one. I think this is a very nice dagger skin. It's very down to the ground. It's not very flashy at all, but it fits a lot to the dagger playstyle. That's my take, yeah. Of course, that someone might say this is extremely boring and I don't want to use it. That's fair. Just looks quite decent, I would say. I mean, it's a little bit too big, maybe, but it's a sacrificial blade. So you could make the argument that this is more like a ritualist dagger or something like that, and you not use it, for example, to hunt. It's more like to sacrifice something or someone. But I feel like the Oreen one is just even bigger. So I feel like this is absolutely insane, personally. Vayner's dagger? Let's check. Yep, this one is actually quite nice as well, I would say. It's again quite big, but I think like all the dagger skins are actually quite big, so I think it's something that they have in common. So I think this is a nice skin. I think it's very fitting for a Guardian, maybe for some kind of healer as well. I think it's not fitting for Necromancer for the most part, but I feel like it could be good on a lot of classes. Elementalist could be quite nice as well on a healer. I like it, yeah. Yeah, I think this is a very good option for a simple dagger. I think if you don't want to have some crazy effects on your weapons, there are actually quite a lot of decent looking daggers and swords in there. But I feel like the ones that have a crazy effect are actually not that insane. There are not that many. I think if you look at this one, this is, for example, having a somewhat crazy effect. It's from the gem store, but it looks almost legendary. I mean, I could imagine this being a legendary, yeah. There are other, for example, this one is of course also, this is obtainable in the game, but this is also having some crazy effects as well. I think this is actually one of the best Super Adventure Box weapons. I think this is quite fitting. I like it. This is one of the ones that I meant is quite close to the Holo Forge. So if you really want to play as a Holo, even if you're not a Holo Smith or engineer, then this could be something that is quite close to that. Yeah. There are multiple options actually for weapons like this. Of course, you can go for other SAB weapons, but I personally like the red one the most. Okay, we have a question from YouTube. I want to build my first legendary equipment, but still struggling to decide my main character, Guardian versus Necromancer. Maximum priority, world versus world roaming, followed by fractals, strikes, solo, boss open world. Help me. Okay, so this is interesting. I would say Guardian is probably the safer option because you have so much more flexibility. You can use a support, you can play as a full DPS, you can play as a hybrid DPS. I would personally go for Guardian in everything that you mentioned here. But if you enjoy Necromancer, you should go for Necromancer. But I personally would recommend Guardian if you don't have a preference. Yeah. I want a legendary dagger, but I really don't like Oreen or Incinerator. Yeah, that's a good point. I personally think the Incinerator is one of the most overrated legendaries. I think it's a crazy unique skin, that much is true, but I think it's too much. I personally would rather have some kind of I think it fits a char, but I think on a lot of other classes or weapons designed, let's say, if you want to have some kind of skin, armor, whatever that fits this, I think it's crazy. It's almost not doable. I am not a big fan of this one. I think it's okay. It's not horrible, but I think it's not the best one. Yeah. And the Oreen one is also quite big. And if you then look at the, how is it called? The Claw. I don't even have this one. That's one of the only legendaries that I don't have. I think this one looks, I'm not sure if this looks more like some kind of butlet from the Klingons, from Star Trek or something. It doesn't look like a dagger at all. I think this is just some kind of weird blade. Yeah, it's true. You could combine the Incinerator with Shining Blade and then it actually fits somewhat well. But I'm just not the biggest fan of Incinerator. I have to be honest. It's not my personal favorite weapon. Okay, so I wanted to go to the, what's it called? Convergence. Yeah, I think there are actually decent options for dagger and sword, but I think the legendary for dagger is a little bit lackluster. I can follow you with that. I really respect outfits that don't rely on particle effects too heavily, not to say I don't enjoy some sparkles too. Yeah, I think that's a lot of Guild Wars 2 players actually would say there are so many sparkling effects that you don't really need all of them all the time on all armor sets and stuff. So I think that you're probably one of the people that actually are the majority, but you see just 1 or 2 people in a map that having the crazy sparkling effects, and that's enough to make the whole map flashy as crazy. I don't know. Is Celestial good for solo or Berserker? Or should mix both? I think both of them can be fine. I think Celestial is the safer option, whereas Berserker gear is more aggressive, but also more punishing. Yeah. I hate Oreen weapons. I want weapons that look like weapons, not feathers. Yeah, I mean, the Oreen weapons, I think they fit maybe on a Guardian or something, but personally, I would say the baseline skins are actually not my favorite ones. I would rather have the Mortimerth one or even the Qualcatoric one. They are quite fitting to Mesmer. And I don't like the Sovon weapons as well, but other than that, I'm not sure. I feel like I would agree with you that the Oreen ones actually, I just made them to have some kind of collection. I personally would not equip them all the time. I agree. Yeah. Any scepter skin you can recommend? 1 second, I just find that Oreen weapons all look too similar. I mean, I think it's, for me personally, I think there are arguments to make a whole set of legendaries versus just one unique legendary. I think both have their disadvantages and advantages. I think if they put a lot of effort into one set or one legendary already, then and put a lot of development effort in that, I think it's fine to make a full set as well, personally. But I don't know. It depends a bit on the what kind of thing you want to have from a legendary. So what kind of scepter skin I can recommend? I personally really like the Cinquatl, or how it's called. This one, I like the legendary a lot. I think it's just a very nice legendary. It's way over the top in the size again, but I think it's just a nice skin. But if you don't want to go for a legendary, then I would say what's nice, I always like the abyssal weapons, or those ones that are like glowing like this. I think this is a really nice one. But of course, some crazy normal, what everyone uses, I would say. Shimmering Aurora, where is it? I mean, I guess I can also search for it. So those ones, I think they are really nice. They're just very classic. I like them. I mean, if you're playing Necromancer, this can be fun as well. What else do we have? There are so many cool skins, I would say, that are not legendary. And you just have to look for them and check them out here in the wardrobe, and then you know what you actually want to get before you spend your gold and your time into that. Yeah. I made the promoters part of the short bar. I don't like it either. It's too flashy. I think Oreen weapons, I think the best ones are definitely Mortimerth. I like some of the Chomag ones, and I like Qualcatoric ones. I don't like promoters, I don't like Sovon, and I don't like the Oreen base skins. So I think half for me. But and the Sidon ones are okay. I think they're in the middle. Yeah. This one is also really cool. I like this Dark Matter set. I think this is really cool. It's really edgy. I think that's really nice. It's not too much, but it's still very cool. I'd rather make a few legendaries that are really unique than a whole set that looks the same. I think that's a good point. I think that's totally fair to say. But at the same time, I feel like if you just make both of them, it would be fine to some extent as well. So you could make more legendaries and make sets out of them as well. So everyone would be happy just for a little bit more, so to say, effort. Personally, I think that might be doable. I'm not sure. So you can, if you're playing Greatsword or Longbow, Dragon Hunter for that matter, you can swap to the third trait, but the third trait is more, there are 2 options. So if you go for the third trait in Dragon Hunter, which increases the damage to your tethered target, you can do that. But if you do that, you also have to go for Virtues. That's the important part. If you don't go for Virtues as a trait line, you don't have the cooldown reduction on your F1 to make this almost permanent, or to make it permanent. And that means that your damage loss is very, so to say, burst focused and not all the time up. And that's why I would say the first one is safer on a not Virtuous belt. It's probably the better option anyway. And if you know what you're doing and you burst a boss very hard, then you can go for the F1 option and go for for Virtuous, and you will either drop the longbow and go for a spear, or you just play Virtuous with longbow as well. I think it depends a bit on the situation and on your knowledge about the fight. But both builds are viable, and you can see on Snowcrows, both builds of them are actually perfectly playable and reach somewhat of the same benchmark. Yeah. See you, Echo Fox. Have fun in your strike training. Yeah, the necrotic weapons is very fitting for Necromancer, that's true. Let me tune down my effects, very good. Is it better to play Thief or Ranger? I think overall, I would agree Ranger is just straight up better. I think Thief is very lackluster in terms of what they can fill. But if you want to always play full DPS, I think you will not be sad about playing Spectre, playing Daredevil, playing Deadeye. I think all of them are fine. But if you want to be more flexible, Mesmer, or Ranger rather, is way better. It's not even close. Ranger can fill so many more roles, and this, I would say, overall game modes, it's actually also a better class to choose. But you should always go for the class that you enjoy the most, and not someone telling you this is not meta, because all of the classes can be played in any game mode, so keep that in mind. Yeah, I think the sidearm ones, I think the sidearm ones are interesting. I'm not the biggest fan of them, but I also don't mind them too much. I think the Primordus ones from Aurene, those are way over the top. I don't like them. I think they are looking way too effect heavy without any real crazy nice skin below it. You know, it's just crazy flame lava style weapon, and it's not really, it's not my thing. I'm not the biggest fan of it. But to be honest, there are a lot of skins like that where I say it's just the effect is too much. You know, I think all of the Primordus weapons are actually a little bit too much. Look at this. I mean, the skin is quite nice. You know, I like the sword skin baseline, but that it's so much flames and so much, you know, dripping lava and stuff. I think that's just too much. I personally don't use them at all. I just have them, but I don't use them. But there are other ones, for example, in the Chormak variant. I think the Chormak variant, I think there the icy effect is quite nice. So I think there it's quite nice. But you can make the argument that, for example, this sword is too, the blade itself is too thin. It's like a toothpick. So yeah, that argument I can understand. I mean, not everything is perfect, I guess. Yeah. One second, let me catch up on chat. So, I mean, it's more, I like to use Dagger. Dagger Mace has more CC on a Spellbreaker build, but I think the Dagger X variant is a little bit more forgiving, yeah. But I think you can run both options, and mine is not optimized for the maximum damage, it's more for usability. So I think if I would make the guide again, I would mention that you can also easily swap the offhand X to an offhand Mace, for example. I think that's just playstyle, personal taste, so to say. Yeah, I would agree. I think the last few balance patches actually hurt Ranger quite a lot. So that's true, especially the spear nerfs and stuff. But I think Druid is still fine. I think the most problematic nerfs were, of course, to Untamed and Soul Beast. But I feel like I think it's still better than Thief, personally. That's my take, but I don't know. Yeah, I agree. The combo between an icy and a fiery sword is actually a decent. Then I like the Primordus one, but only then, if it's in a nice combo. Yeah. Ellie or Mesmer for PvP? I think Elementalist is more flexible, Whereas Mesmer is more try-hard. If you can play Mesmer and at a really high level, Mesmer is better for most people to carry in ranked, for example. But I would say only a very small amount of people actually are capable of doing so. So I would say for the general population, Elementalist is better. Yeah, Elementalist is really good right now, especially Dagger or Staff Tempest. There are so many options, so many builds out there right now. Mesmer is like in PvP, Mesmer is either really bad because it's completely garbage, or it's really, really good in PvP. And right now it's quite good. So, but it's very punishing. So it's very squishy. And if you can't play it correctly, then you die and you can't carry your group. Elementalist is a little bit more forgiving, I would say, because it's just has inherent protection uptime, and that helps a lot to just survive. Yeah, this convergence is, I mean, depends who you asked if it's fun. I think every now and then I do it just to get the weekly gun. I don't do it every single day. I don't need the essences anymore. Mesmer is the best if you're a pro gamer. Yeah, exactly. But the problem is not a lot of us are pro gamers, so I can't recommend people, you play Mesmer and you will be fine, because for most people you play Mesmer and then at some point you will feed and you think, oh, this is a bad class. No, it's not. It's just very hard to play, or at least somewhat hard to play. Especially if you compare it, for example, to a Dagger Elementalist, where you just spam all your buttons and you will probably win the 101 anyway. Also, I'm jaded since I was one of the 5 people who really liked the Untamed CC cooldown reduction interaction. I personally liked it a lot. This Fervent Force trait was one of the most fun and really interesting traits we had in the game. And it was, so to say, for me, was the Untamed. You know, that was Untamed. Why you took Untamed for that? They removed it, and now it's just like another DPS class that has some kind of interesting pet mechanic, but that's about it. I don't know. I feel like it's not my... I wouldn't say it killed Untamed for me, but I think Fervent Force was such a fun trait. I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. Guardian or Engineer, what do you prefer? I'm personally more a Guardian fan. I think Engineer is for me too little magical. I play a fantasy MMO. I don't want to play some kind of reality thing where I play Engineer. That's just my class playstyle. I play Engineer as well. Don't think I don't play it, but I'm just saying if I had the choice between Engineer and Guardian, I would probably go for Guardian. Rev got nerfed today along with X-Thief. Yeah, I know. It was. I released a video about how to play Spear Revenant, and now they nerfed it. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's still playable. Don't overestimate this change. I think it's still playable, and it's just a little bit of a nudge in the right direction. It was just way too strong. And the X-Thief nerf was also necessary. It was crazy how much damage they could do with that, especially on such a short cooldown or initiative cost. Yeah. Ele or Mesmer in PvE? I think Elementalist is weaker in PvE. I think Mesmer is one of the best classes to play in PvE. You have crazy good damage options with Virtuoso. You have insane support options as a Chronomancer. And you have crazy, so to say, what's it called? Offensive support options as well. So I think it's just the best overall kit. I think it's probably the best class in PvE overall, Mesmer, right now. So, yeah, that's my choice. What are your thoughts on Virtuoso with Moa and Domination Signet setup? Seen some funny meters? I think this is a really cool combo. I think it's not something that you would play in some crazy hardcore try-hard environment. It's more like, come on, one-shot me. It's something that you would play in a ranked game, that you would play in some kind of more montage in World versus World or stuff. But it's not something that I would say is, you know, if you want to win outnumbered situations or something, or if you want to, let's say, carry every single ranked match, it's not something that I would play there. But if you just want to have fun and want to get some really crazy cool moments, then I think it's actually it's actually quite decent, yeah. I mean, you give up your stun break or something like that for your Signet of Domination, but I think it's still a decent pick. Yeah, yeah, I think in open world it was absolutely insane. Untamed is still very good in open world, but that trait was absolutely busted. That much is for sure. It's crazy how much you actually could get done with just reducing your cooldown every quarter of a second. Yes. Who would have thought? Yeah. I mean, they couldn't they couldn't balance it. That was the main problem. Yeah, glad you like my content. My guild does not want to take Druid to World vs. World Suck as support, as he has no stability. No stable support, just burst. I mean, yeah. I mean, Druid, I would say Druid is very good in not crazy organized squads. I'm not sure if really crazy organized squads still take Druids. I'm not sure. I think it depends a bit on your guild. I think it's still a very worthwhile support though. Yeah, I think Thief, if you don't play Spectre, is one of the hardest classes to play, and that's also why it should get actually some buffs in terms of just usefulness. I feel like they should make Thief, at least in PvE, I feel like Data and Daredevil should get some love. They should get more damage, or they should get more usefulness just other than on the benchmark. You know, I feel like the benchmark is crazy for those classes, but to make it actually into a raid fight and actually beat it on a high damage number is actually almost impossible. I don't know. I feel like this is only a handful of people actually play Thief to that level that you can actually make that work. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of how Thief is balanced right now. Willbender or Firebrand? I mean, it depends for the content. I think in competitive modes, Willbender is better slightly, at least in solo gameplay. But if you want to in PvE, I think Willbender is the better option. Yeah. I think in PvE, Firebrand can be really good as a support, but if you want to play DPS, you go for Willbender. I think both of them are really good in PvE. In competitive modes, I would rather go for Willbender. Yeah. By the way, for the Gen 3s, my personal POV is like whatever variant fits my armor's color scheme, but outside of that, the Titan variants are underrated. The teeth on the swords are really pog, and they have the second best projectile right after Morphomoth. Yes, I would agree. I would actually rate the Morphomoth one definitely the highest. I think this is overall the best looking set, so to say. And I think the Sidon one is heavily underrated, because I think the Sidon one is it doesn't fit every single character. I would say that much is for sure. But I feel like the weapon itself is very well designed, and I think the projectiles look really cool. And also the footsteps I like quite a bit. I think it's very underrated just in general how much cool effects they have, on top of their actually quite nice skins as well. I think definitely better than the fiery Primordus one that everyone uses, I feel like. Even though I feel like it's just reddish. That's the main thing of this. I'm not the biggest fan of them, if you haven't noticed. Yeah. Welcome, Arthur. Welcome. Welcome to the stream. Hope you had a nice day. Ah, Filthy is there as well. Welcome. I'm good. I'm playing actually some Convergence right now. It's not something that you see on my stream that often because it's quite boring and it just takes some time, but I felt like, why not? Maybe we only have one more month until the legendary backpack comes out, and we will probably need some essences for that, so some rift hunting essences, and I thought, yeah, why not get them early and be done with it when it comes out, or at least have a big amount of them already. Yeah, I'm good, Cyril. I'm good. Hope you're doing well as well. Is Revenant better than Ranger for Fractals? No. I mean, it depends what kind of Revenant. I would say the best Revenant in Fractals by far is our Renegade as a alacrity provider. It's extremely strong. But if you play Ranger, you can play Soul Beast. You can even play Untamed as a DPS, and those would be better DPS for the most part for most groups. I released a tier list on, I think, Sunday about Fractals, and there I mentioned that as well. I think Renegade is really good. It's just a very, very good support in Fractals. But I would say overall Ranger might be a better pick if you want to play multiple elite specs and want to fill multiple roles. Because Soul Beast is just a very, very good DPS option. Yeah. The only problem with Sidon was that the collection all just... yeah, the collection is a big problem. I agree. I mean, I grinded all of the collections at once to some extent. And that the Sidon one was obviously really painful. That is true. Waiting for the temples, that's painful. Yeah. And also, yeah, the Tequatl was also not that fun to wait for that every time on a 3-hour cooldown. But I mean, the temples were for me the game breaker. That you have to wait until the random event, or not random, but at least the map that you are in gets the temple event is horrible. I think that's horrible. Yeah. Exactly. I felt like I wanted to converge. Yes, exactly. I have the Sidon Scepter, but I think I should have gone with Mortimermoth. Yeah, I think Mortimermoth, I think, is just the best option. I think it's not a lot of people actually have those, I feel like, but also feel like they are actually one of the best looking ones. I think actually the Mortimermoth Scepter might be my favorite Scepter legendary. That might be a really hot take, but I think this is actually one of the best looking Scepter legendaries. Where is it? There? No, not this one. There we go. I think, no, this is the staff. This one. I think this is such a really cool legendary. It's very unique, and it's a big scepter, but it's a nice skin. It has some nice effects. The tail here is really good, and the footsteps. I feel like overall it's just a very, very nice legendary. Yeah. No problem, Cloudo. No problem. Untameds can get some really high numbers. Yeah, Untameds are really, really good, but the burst damage on Soul Beast is a little bit better. That's why people play typically Untamed in raids and strike missions. Even in Fractals, you play Soul Beast, at least in really try-hard groups. Soul Beast is not the easiest DPS build to play in Fractals because you are rooted in place. The same goes for Untamed with your X5. And that can be a killer if your support is actually not doing a good job here. But I still think it's very worthwhile. I like both of them. If I see a decent Untamed in my group, a decent Soul Beast, I'm always happy in Fractals. Yeah. How do you get that mount wheel? That mount wheel comes with the Blish Hut. So I have the Blish Hut. I have a guide about it on my YouTube channel. And there is one of those modules, is the mounts and more. And there you can actually get the mount wheel as well. It's really, really good. Just ease of use to get to all the mounts without having to bind them to specific keybinds, because that's also very painful if you have so many keybinds. And it's just very convenient. I like it a lot. I feel like either Primordus or Calcatoric might have been the most enjoyable collection. Yeah, when it just comes from the collection, I think probably actually Primordus is probably the best one when it comes just how easy I got them. I think Calcatoric was quite fast as well, but I feel like the jumping puzzle was so easy in the Primordus one that it was not, I did it in a minute or so. It's crazy. And I think the Dragon Storm was also quite nice as a finishing touch because it actually gives some decent gold as well. So I feel like I could always go for Primordus and Shawmec at once. That was really nice as well. But that was just for me because I did, so to say, all of them at once. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I would rather rate them in terms of their skin than the challenge, because people will only do it once and the skin they might use all the time again. I don't remember the collection. I just couldn't wait to finish it. I mean, it's okay. I mean, I personally think the collection is not a deal breaker for me. I was just grinding all of them, and it was painful at some point, but I feel like it only do it once. It's not like, it's not insane in terms of how difficult they are or how annoying they are. I feel like if you get all of the skins, you will forget that you did them at some point. At least that's my take on it. I did them, and I'm now happy that I have them and I can use them forever. So I would never regret doing the achievements for that matter. Welcome, Anubis. Welcome, welcome. Glad you liked my new Fractal tier list. Actually was a really nice discussion on stream as well. So if you have any ideas for really cool tier lists that we could do as well, I'm always open for tier lists. It's after all my favorite thing to do on stream is doing tier lists. So if you have anything that comes to mind that you want to do a tier list about, let me know. Controversial opinion, I think the single best legendary projectile in the game is Generation 2 Hammer. I actually don't have that one because I really dislike the skin. That's one of the only skins that I don't have is this legendary hammer. And you say the projectile is worth it. I think the hammer projectiles, I think, are actually the best part about the hammers. It's a hot take, but I feel like the hammer skins are actually all not that crazy good when it just comes to the base skin. And I feel like the projectiles are always quite good. I actually don't know the one of the Generation 2 because no one actually has that one. Except you, apparently. because I really wanted to see that at some point, but I personally think I will do it I will obviously do it because I will get all of them at some point because I want to get a full wardrobe, but this is not on my priority list, I have to admit. No. I have a question. Why Power Herald uses spear instead of bow? Spear has just more damage, and the bow is a little bit like you have 1 or 2 weapon attacks that scale with hammer with power, and on spear you have all the attacks scale with power, and you can use it as a power weapon. Just crazy good. So that's the whole take on that. And also the CC on the short bow is a little bit worse than the CC on the spear. But of course, if you enjoy short bow, you can go for short bow as well. It's not too much of a difference, I would say. Still a decent amount of damage difference, but it's not crazy bad. Yeah. Really liked your fractal list. Yeah, glad you liked them. I mean, there were a lot of people in the comments on YouTube that actually didn't like it. So I'm glad that you actually say you would agree with me or you found it helpful, because there were a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's not a good take" and whatever. I feel like it's really hard to please everyone, but I felt like this tier list was especially a big debate, and a lot of people in the comments were actually not happy what my takes were. Condi DPS, power DPS. Okay, interesting. Yeah, that's actually, yeah, you could make a tier list about that. I mean, the question is, would you only rate as a DPS, just DPS, baseline DPS? No. Not thinking about raids, strikes, fractals, offensive supports, only about DPS. Yeah, we could do a tier list about that, yeah. When did they put Hammer on Untamed? I think it came out with Hammer. Didn't it? I think that was the weapon that came with Untamed in EOD. Yeah, I think so. Because it has these 2 different, let's say, weapon skill sets with the hammer, because it's either leashed or unleashed. So yeah, it was with EOD. Yeah. You watch all my roaming tier list every day. I mean, that's what I like to hear. If you watch it every day. No, I mean, I'm always happy. I will do some updates to those tier lists as well if there are some big changes. Don't worry. So I will do some updates. Oh, come on. Yeah, so I will do some updates there, don't worry. Yeah, I think Untamed definitely at launch was with Hammer, and I think the Hammer is actually not what actually made Untamed so crazy interesting. It was more the traits and the weapon or the ambush skills. So I think personally Untamed, the Hammer, it fits very well on a Soul Beast as well. You don't really have to play Untamed to make the Hammer work. Nowadays, of course, previously you couldn't use it on a Soul Beast, but nowadays you can. So I feel like it's actually a decent weapon for Soul Beast. Or a very decent weapon, rather. Yeah, glad you liked it. I mean, I think most of the people in chat while I did it on YouTube and Twitch were actually quite happy with the tier list as well. So it's fine. You know, I like the tier list as well, and that's probably the thing. If I stand behind my tier list, then it's probably a good one. Maybe also include where Condi DPS is required better on PvE content. Yeah, that's the problem. I think we have to do maybe I have to do a video, yeah, about explaining why Condi DPS is just on 99% of the fights worse than power DPS. I feel like let me explain. So, what is the advantage of playing Condi? Can anyone in chat tell me what is the advantage of playing Condi? So why would you play Condi on any fight if you could play power? When power builds are just baseline doing the damage in the first 2 seconds, while a Condi build does need 3 or 4 seconds to actually do the same amount of damage in the first seconds. Yeah? So what is the advantage of playing a Condi build? The advantage of playing a Condi build in Guild Wars 2 is that typically Condi builds are ranged. So you have to make the distinction between a Condi and a power build more in a way and saying is it a melee or a ranged build? And then I would say, yes, there are some bosses that are definitely favoring ranged builds, but it's not about that it's a Condi build typically. There are some bosses, yes, you are correct, maybe like Matthias or Soulless Horror, where you want to play some kind of Condi build because you have some kind of delayed action that makes sense there. But in a lot of other fights, it's more about ranged or melee. So deciding if you want to go for power or Condi build is more like you should decide if it's a ranged or melee boss. That's more the decision you should make. Yeah, I'm happy that I can give you some, let's say, knowledge on the way if I explain my takes. Yeah. Yeah, you can, of course, pre-stack Condis sometimes, but it's very niche. I think that's not something that happens all the time. Yeah. You only need 2 stats instead of 3. That's a very good point. But, and that's the sad part, if there was a gear set that actually gives you more stats in those 2 stats, so you would get expertise and condition damage only on this gear, and you would get, for example, I don't know, 30% more of those stats, then you would be happy. But this does not exist. So you have to take some other gear with it, and you lose, so to say, a little bit of value there. So I feel like, yes, there is a valid option for playing Condi builds, and that's the big problem. If the balance is in a way that the Condi damage is a little bit higher. So that means that if you play a Condi build, the damage is, for example, 46k, yeah, the maximum on the benchmark. Whereas on a power build, you have, let's say, 44, 45k, because it's instant and you don't get, so to say, punished for playing a build that is melee and a lot of instant damage. But the problem is, if you make the balance like it currently is, that power and Condi builds are somewhat similar balanced, so that they all reach something about 45 to 46k maximum on the benchmark, then there is never a reason to actually go for some kind of Condi build if you have phases, if you have normal fights where there is something happening in the fight, because it's just worse for the most part. That's my take here. So yes, in general, if the gear would make you deal more damage in general, then it would be the absolute right thing to say, yes, you should go for Condi if you have no phases. But right now, even in phaseless bosses, typically you don't need to go for Condi if you can stay melee. That's the thing here. Yeah. I have a suggestion. I saw the Power Herald guide. If possibly, can you show the animation and mechanic? I know it's a bit too much to ask. Yeah, I will try to keep that in mind and just give you some on my YouTube videos. I try to include some kind of gameplay and some kind of showcase as well. But I feel like the problem is if I showcase every single thing in my YouTube guides as well, they are already like 10 minutes long because I explain every single skill and stuff. So if I make them even longer, then a lot of people drop out. And I really want to get the main parts over before people stop watching it. Yes, I get that I should showcase a lot more how to play it and how to make it, the combos and stuff. But you can't get everything in a single video and still keep the people interested, because then the video would take an hour or something. So that's my take. I try to find a middle ground where the video is in a concise length while still being very helpful to, let's say, most people. Yeah. Yes, that's a good point. If they balance the encounters around having more armor and take less damage from power, then of course, yes, you're right. That's definitely something that they could make you play Condi or power, depending on what kind of builds they are actually wanting you to play there. Yes, that's correct. But I feel like that's a very lame way of doing it. I personally think they should balance encounters in terms of how they are played and not in terms of raw. Okay, this boss is a Condi boss because it has permanent protection on it and you can't remove it. That's boring. I don't like this design. Yeah. But I agree. That's obviously the case already. Yeah. Maybe if you want to play a specific class, a friend likes to play Firebrand, but there isn't a power variation. I think you can make a power Firebrand work in Fractals as a support, but it's very uncommon. That's true. Not everything works like that. That's a very good point. You should, if you really want to play a specific class, power and Condi, then it's not always all classes give you that. That's true. Power builds, in my experience, you have to pay more attention, while Condi builds also absolutely autopilot. That's true. It's very often the case that Condi builds are more, so to say, brain off, and you just deal your damage passively and you don't need to stick to a crazy rotation. That's true. But that's more like because they are typically range builds and they are somewhat easier to play. So it's more like the weapons you choose, the builds that you come up with are a little bit easier to play. So I feel like that's that should not generally be actually the case. I feel like Condi and power should be on par, and Condi should be a little bit more damage and should not be necessarily ranged. Personally, that would be my take there. To be fair, if you look at Condi Virtuoso, arguably the most serious offender of Condi overcompensation, it's just that you can literally do everything at maximum range, full DPS, invulnerability, ports, portal, CC blocks. There is no power class that can even do half the utility. Exactly. That's why typically people play Condi Virtuoso in some kind of crazy hard progression groups, because this is just a very safe pick. It's just very, very safe. And if you play a power Virtuoso, you will get some of that stuff as well, but you will lose the just crazy blade generation and the ease of use of a Condi Virt. That's true. And the self-sustain as well. So I would say yes, you are right there, but I think that's just a balance issue in my opinion. It's more like a balance issue than the classical power Condi thing, because it's not like you play Condi Virt because it's a Condi build. No, you play Condi Virt because it has crazy utility. Yeah, this is a difference. So if you make that argument and would say, for example, Zeros CM is a Condi boss because everyone plays Condi Virtuoso there, I would say this is straight up wrong. It's not a Condi boss, it's a Condi Virtuoso boss. So if you get what I mean. Yeah. So I think that the balancing is a little bit off when it comes to this. I think they definitely have to redo the balancing in terms of how classes or just in general Condi builds and power builds are considered to be balanced personally. Yeah. I think that's very important, and it's very off right now. You showcase the best rotation, but for new players, it just press too many buttons quickly, and getting a less heavy training rotation would be great for transitioning. Yeah, that's good. Maybe I should just include into my rotation not only the perfect rotation, but also some kind of somewhat starter rotation where you can see at least how it works and slowly get more damage with just increasing rotation, getting more buttons on. I think I try to achieve that with not only releasing really try-hard guides with how to actually hit the perfect number of 45k on a Condi Willbender or something, but I also try to release low-intensity builds that are tailor-made for people that actually want to, let's say, have less actions per minute and just a little bit less intense builds and still reach a decent number. So I split that in 2 builds, but yes, you're right. I think it would make sense to also explain how to actually get to this really high number with the build already just increasing the amount of buttons that you press slowly. I think that makes a lot of sense. Good point. My power build is easy to follow, has more utility. Slot swap to open, which power build is easy to follow. And I mean, I think power Virtuoso is a very good example where you still have nice utility and you can swap a lot of stuff around. But for example, if you compare that to, let's say, power Catalyst or something, you can't really swap your utilities. You know, if you play a power Catalyst, you have those utilities. This and this one you have to take. It's just such a big DPS loss, you can't take them. And you can swap, for example, to Arcane Blast or even Arcane Wave if you need CC or something, or Teleport or Armor of Earth. But the other utility skills, they are set. You need to use them. Otherwise, your DPS drops so hard that you can't use them, that you can't use a Catalyst anymore. If you go to Condi or Power Virt, you can easily swap, you know, you can swap all the utilities. You can even swap your elite skill and you will deal some decent damage as well. That's the crazy part, you know. If I play Power Virt, I can swap my Mantra, I can swap my Rain of Swords. And if I'm really crazy for whatever reason, I can also go for Phantasmal Disenchanter. Yes, at this point I will lose quite some damage, but it's still crazy how much utility you can have in the kit. That's the difference here. So I would say Power Virtuoso is the one where you can easily swap. Yes, Power Firebrand was meta at some point. Very good point by Sarah. But I think nowadays it's not anymore. Yeah, it was considered one of the best quickness supports because you can easily burst with a Guardian because of Greatsword and stuff, and you just gave quickness. So you played some kind of alacrity provider and you had quickness Firebrand and you would be good to go. Yeah, but nowadays it's just completely power grip by playing some kind of healing Firebrand and maybe some kind of Chronomancer on quickness or alacrity, and then you will be good, and it's way better than playing some kind of weird power version for Guardian. Yeah. Welcome, Sochi. Do you have any tips for the best areas to grind Central Tier Mastery? So I think the best grind spots for Central Tier Mastery, there are multiple things that you can do. If you want to do it without any, so to say, help, if you want to do it alone without any people actually helping you, I feel like you can go and do so, for example, here in Crossground Search in the spawn precipice, because you can then go up and down here and the crawl that respawn here quite frequently, give you some decent experience as well, and give you some nice gold as well. But if the best option by far would go for some meta events, so you would go, for example, for Tequatl, and you farm that every 3 hours. But the best ones are, of course, some kind of or Cursed Shore events where you just follow a temple chain that completes a full temple. For example, what's really crazy good is the Grand Temple here. So you start somewhere here, and then you move up here and go here, and then you have a defense event here or attack event, whatever. And there are so many mobs spawning. If you hit all of them, you get a crazy amount of experience. Yeah. World completion can also help, but I feel like world completion is quite slow in terms of how much you actually get from the experience. I feel like even if you do some kind of 10-hour crazy fast run for the whole world completion, you don't get that many levels. If you level 10 hours on, let's say, Cursed Shore, you will get, I don't know, something around, if you're crazy, maybe something around 100 spirit shards worth. Map completion will not give you that much. Yeah. In near future, we'll get low intensity tier list for DPS, boon DPS, and heal. Yeah, I think we will do so. I will do a tier list about all the low intensity builds. I'm not sure if I will split them, because I feel like if I split all my tier lists in 3, that might be too much of the same stuff. So maybe I will put it in one tier list. Let's see. But low intensity builds, definitely I will get some more out on my YouTube channel, just more guides about all of them that I can come up with. And then I will definitely release a tier list as well. Don't worry. Yeah. I will also try to update my tier list when there is some kind of change. But nowadays, I feel like the changes are the fixes, or the general direction of how much balance changes we get is actually quite small. So there is no real change in terms of how much we have right now, personally, I think. So there is no real reason to go for another round of all the tier lists. I feel like at the moment they did not change that much. Yeah, I think the problem is with the core maps meta events is that they are not on a timer, so you have to wait until they spawn. You don't exactly know when this happens, so this is a big problem. But there are other events that you can farm in the, let's say, for example, just go to the high level zones and there will be some meta events or some kind of events. For example, I think you can, at this region here in the volcano region, there are also some kind of events you can farm that decently easy. And you can farm rifts as well. I think don't underestimate how much experience you get by farming rifts in the core map. So you just go and look for, where is it? I think it's Chantier Wilds, and then weekly rift hunting. No, it's not in Secrets of the Obscure. Here, weekly rift hunting. And there you can see there are some core maps like Sparklife Fan, and this will rotate through and you will get some core maps therein. And if you just farm on this map then, where the farm, you actually get a decent amount of rifts, and they will spawn a lot of mobs, veterans, even elites and champions, and you get decent amount of that as well, and you get some gold. So I think combining gold farming with experience farm is always a good thing, because you will need gold at some point as well. Yeah. Welcome, Chris. Welcome. Hope you're on a nice day. You made it. Very good. Do you have any question? And you finally made it to my stream. So what do we want to do? Let's play some, right? Let's play some strike missions, I guess. Yeah. Let me hydrate for a sec. You missed the epic stream from last time. Don't worry. We will try to make more epic streams happen very frequently. So don't worry. But last time was really nice. It was a really big discussion, that's true. Oops. Thanks, by the way, Sisi and Sihi and Corsair for the follow. Really appreciate it. But as always, if you have any comments, any feedback, let me know. Also, any questions, doesn't matter if you're a veteran or a new player, I'm always happy to answer questions. So I will probably play some kind of healer. It's very typical that if you want to just fill the group, it's very common that you actually get the healing roles. So let's see what we can play here. I actually were not online when the servers went down. I mean, did they really go down, or was it just like you have to restart the game to actually get the newest patch? Because that's common. That the servers guild was 2 servers go down is actually very uncommon. Very, very uncommon. There was only a single time in the history, I think, where the servers were completely down. Or rolled back, rather. So we actually had 1 hour or something where we played and they actually got rolled back, and you got some compensation after that because you actually had some time that you didn't, I don't know, actually get the rewards for the playtime. I packed Wing 8 yesterday and we literally got the 2 heals and 2 boon supports first. That's crazy. That's actually insane. It's very uncommon, I would say. I feel like if I go for a group myself, I feel like it's very common that I fill the party with only the supports first, and that takes 5 minutes or something. And as soon as I say DPS, it takes 20 seconds to find 6 people. So it's actually, I feel like there are only DPS people looking at the LFG. I don't know. It feels really crazy. It's actually crazy if you find them so fast and you get them very first, even though you're not looking for the supports first. That's crazy. I mean, sometimes you are just lucky, I guess. Is Harrier the best for Druid in instance content? Yes, but sorry for that answer, but yes. In general, Harrier is the best stat for healers for a single reason. It gives you exactly the stats that you need, concentration and healing power. But you also participate in the fight with not only being there for healing, but also providing some kind of damage, which is very necessary in some kind of fractals. But if you are only playing strike missions and raids, you typically take Harriers because you don't want to be the tank. As soon as you will want to be the tank, you take some kind of toughness to be the tank. And then you can swap to either one single piece and go for, let's say, 5 more toughness to be the tank. But you can go more safe and go for full minstrel or full givers even and get full toughness there. So I think, yes, Harrier is in general the best recommendation I can give you. But I would say minstrel and even givers and a mix of those can work very well as well, especially if you want to tank. So that's the truth behind all of those gear stats, is that you have to adjust them depending on the situation. Yeah, the TP was not working for a time. It's actually crazy. I was also surprised how much, so to say, files I had to download when the new patch came out. Because normally it's just a hotfix, you know, or some kind of small fix where you don't get any new content, because we didn't. So I was surprised that they actually had such a big amount of files. So I think they're preparing for the next update or maybe even the next expansion already. Okay, controversial opinion. I have a second, mostly full menstrual set, 90 boon duration, since I'm a lazy player, and if the ability does not one-shot me, why could I move out of it? That's a fair point. I think that's a very fair point. If you don't mind being the tank, or if there is, come on, wait, people. If you don't mind, so to say, going for less DPS, because I feel like on some fights, you can actually, you will not make the difference, but it can speed up over the course of a 10-minute fight. Going for Minstrel instead of Harrier, you will lose some DPS, and I feel like that's okay. But it can speed up to some extent. But I think for most people, if you are not playing raids, full Minstrel is the best option. Straight up, because you will not get punished for playing not perfectly. Yeah, that's a good valid point. But I would say if you try to play raids at some point, then I would highly recommend to go for Harriers, or at least have a set of Harriers ready, because there might be a reason for you at some point to not be the tank. And if you have full Minstrel, it's somewhat very close with the toughness with the tank sometimes. Yeah, if the tank doesn't have Giver's Gear or toughness infusions, it's actually somewhat of a gamble if you actually reach higher toughness on the fight than your tank. So keep that in mind. But I think, yes, good point. If you're a lazy person and only have one gear set, Minstrel might be a very worthwhile pick as well, especially if you don't like to move out of AoEs. But of course, I think at this point, if you know which attacks you actually can move out and which one not, then you will be most likely at a point in the game where you have multiple gear sets as well. Personally, I don't know. As a druid, I'm a glorified wheelchair who has to rest dozens of people each fight either way, so my DPS is not that important. Yeah, that's obviously good point. I feel like especially in fights where you don't have a toughness tank, going full Minstrel or some kind of just tanky gear stat, not Harrier at all, then you will be fine. I think Harrier is just because a lot of people that want to have one build for all PvE, they would also go in a raid with toughness-based bosses, even though they are playing Minstrel and don't want to tank. And then I think that gets a problem. But if you have multiple gear sets, or if you know that this fight is not toughness-based, then what is going on? Why is everyone leaving? What? So yeah, that's my take on that. I would say Minstrel if you don't want to raid, or if you don't want to go into toughness-based bosses, then that's the best one. But I mean, you can go for full Minstrel anyway in toughness-based bosses. You just have to be aware that you will be the tank then, probably. So keep that in mind. I think it's very important to mention that tanking in Guild Wars 2 is actually not that hard. So you just move to the position where you normally move, just on the outer side of the boss. That's it. It's not like you have typically to do actually more mechanics or stuff. There are some exceptions, yes. But for the most part, it's actually not that much of a difference. So please, if you are a support player, going for some kind of tanky gear stat and going for tank is really, it sounds more dangerous or more scary than it actually is. I personally think tanking is heavily overrated, how challenging it is. So if you're a new player and you play a support class, don't mind trying to go for a tank. That's actually, you will carry your group faster than you can imagine. It's really, really good. Yeah. But we were talking about sword skins. I also wanted to mention that I really like the Mesmer pink weapons here. I think this Purgatoric weapons fit quite well to Mesmer, so I really like to use them here. But more for the effects than for the actual skin, personally. I think the effects are very fitting to Mesmer. I don't know. I feel like for me, the weapons are always like, I really try to fit them to the class design. So if the attack is pink, I don't want to use some kind of, I don't know, green effect that's typically not very fitting. But sometimes you can make it work as well. I don't know. I feel like, what are we doing? Did that. Yeah. Yeah, I agree, Winslow. The swords are probably the best looking ones. I think the short bow and the long bow are actually quite decent as well. Yeah, I think the dual wielding of fire and ice blades are very nice, I agree. I think the swords are probably, for me, one of my favorite Orien skins. I'm not sure if I would say they are the best, because it depends a bit on what kind of class I currently am on. But I would agree, yeah. The maces, yeah, the maces. I like the maces, but I feel like the maces not always. I don't play a lot of classes where the maces actually fit my character, my classes. That's the problem. Maybe that's also because I don't play a lot of mace characters, but good point. The maces are also very nice. Yeah. Today I did my first bone skin with randoms without restart. We did it with 2 healers. Yeah, that's common. Typically, you do it with 2 healers. I would say Bone Skinner with 2 healers is very common, and 3 healers, you shouldn't need it if you have decent healers. And 1 healer, yes, there was, you can do it in some really crazy tryhard group. You can do it with 1 healer, but it's very uncommon. Obviously not in packs. Yeah. Super Adventure Box, I think the weapon sets are really nice, but I have to be honest, I'm so bad at playing Super Adventure Box and jumping puzzles in general that I just say, okay, if the gear set is, or the skins are not that obtainable for me because they are hidden behind some tripulation mode and stuff, then I will just give up and say, okay, that's not for me then. So that's the sad truth here. I would really like to get all of the skins in the Super Adventure Box, but I feel like I will never get those. It's too challenging for me to get actually through tripulation mode all of them multiple times. So the next step after becoming a pro at the Icebrood Saga strike missions, when you kill Bone Skinner, is probably going for the EOD strike missions with maybe Soto strike missions. I mean, Soto is probably the same level, but EOD strike missions are a little bit harder. So I would go for the EOD strike missions, so Aetherblade Hideout, Anchor, Kyning Overlook, and Harvest Temple. Those are really nice. Rebel Jacket, let's check if it's there. No, not yet. Thanks for the follow, Raven. Really appreciate it. Just get the bubble generator. Yeah, I have that one, but for some of the skins you actually need the not only the bubble generator or bubbles in general, but you actually need the, what's it called? Some kind of tokens or something from the tripulation mode so that you can get the skins. So that will be unbeatable for me because I will not get that. I did some of the tripulation modes, but not all of them, and I will not redo them. I'm too weak for that. Yeah, the Soto strike missions are really easy. I think the EOD one, I think they are not that hard, but they are a little bit more mechanically heavy. So that means, personally, I would say the maybe Harvest Temple and Kyning Overlook are very decently hard, decently step up above the IBS strike missions. But I think both of or all 4 of them are actually quite doable. So don't worry, just go in, do them, and you will be fine. What is actually going on? You're waiting more than killing actually bosses. It's actually crazy. You can get them by just completing each zone to get the big chest that gives bubbles. Oh, okay. I mean, that's good then. Then I will probably already have the skin. But I have some skins I'm missing. Those are the ones from the tripulation mode. Yeah. And I will not get them. That much is for sure. But I think that's okay. You know, you don't need to have every single skin because some of them are just actually for you quite hard to get. But that will be the case at some point. Most of the skins are actually here just from this one's much, but this one is definitely a clear, nice or decent skin. It's not crazy, but I need this in my collection. But how do I get it? I only get it when I complete the tripulation mode, zone 1, world 1, zone 3. This is where I can get this. And I think you need to use all of that. That's really annoying. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's just how I have to do it at some point. Hello, I'm new to the game and I can't decide which class I should pick. What would you advise is the most fun between Guardian, Necromancer, and Revenant? Oh, that's the tough one. I feel like all of them can be really fun. Right now, I would recommend to go for Reaper, so I would say Necromancer in PvE. It's really, really fun. I think it's a really nice, easy class to start out with. If you want to go for a support class, then you should probably still go for Guardian. I think Guardian is like a Paladin and a vibe at least, and it can be really fun. yeah, that would be my assessment in a very short term. If you want a detailed showcase of each class and stuff and how you actually play them and how they look, because that's how you should decide. You should not go for the best class right now. You should go for the class that you enjoy the fantasy the most of. So I personally would go for either Guardian or Necromancer. But that's a personal take, you know. I don't listen to your heart, yeah. Yeah, maybe I should. I mean, I don't know. I think if you can't get a skin yourself, then it's not really earned. I want to earn the skin myself. I want to collect it and not really, so to say, pay someone else to actually give it to me. I think that's a little bit boring. Yeah, I think that's the ultimate RP Charlock. Yeah, I can see the filthy. Yeah. I can see why this works definitely. The strike rewards from EOD, Soto, and Iceblood Saga strike missions are exactly the same. For the most part, you get ascended stuff, you get gold, and that's about it. You don't get anything else. It's very streamlined. You actually get the same currency. So you get those, where is it? Those blue profit shards. You get them from all of the strike missions. Actually, nowadays, this ones. You actually get them from all of the strike missions. You don't get those screens anywhere. So yeah. Yeah, I mean, Dragon Hunter can be quite same, actually. That's true. Dragon Hunter and Reaper can be quite similar because they're full DPS and, so to say, feel like quite close to each other. But I feel like Reaper is a little bit easier to play for the most part. Yeah, it's true. You earn it yourself if you pay someone else because you gave the money for it. But I personally think it's better to achieve something in the game on your own. I would never buy some kind of raid achievement or something from someone else. I want to get it myself, or I don't get it out. That's my personal take. Someone else can do it. I don't judge, but I say that's my own personal opinion on that. Yeah, yeah, I think there are some. I think the tribulation modes are fun to a lot of people, but I just don't like them. I'm not. I like to play the Guild Wars 2 for the combat. I don't want to play a game inside a game that is tormenting me personally. I can see why people would like it, but I don't really care too much. Yeah, Firebrand is actually, compared to a lot of other supporters, Firebrand is actually quite hard because it's more spammy. It's more, you have to position correctly while doing all the other stuff that healers have to do. So I feel like, yeah, Firebrand is definitely one of the hardest supports to play right now. It's very good if you can pull it off, but it's definitely not that easy to learn. It's crazy. We did it after only 10 minutes of waiting. We actually got to the first, or the second boss rather. Crazy. Insane. Yeah, I would also stick to Druid for now. I think Druid is very good, and I would not swap if you don't need to. I think there is no reason to swap from Druid to Firebrand. Other than in Fractals, I would say Druid is a little bit worse. But that's about it. Yeah. Such a common practice in games like WoW. Buying raid meta achievements and gear and carries. Yeah, I think I wouldn't say it's something that is necessarily bad. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying personally, I would rather achieve something on my own. You know, I like to grind stuff and I like to get my stuff on my own if I enjoy the content. I don't want to do stuff that I dislike a lot. Yeah, then I just don't do it. You know, that's my personal, so to say, yeah, mentality. Yeah, not everyone has to agree with that, and that's fine. You know, it's just my take. I want to get my stuff on my own. I want to get my wardrobe as full as I can get it without having to, so to say, I don't know, just go around, maybe not, I wouldn't say cheese, but not get it the correct way. I think then it's not really earned in my way. I'm not happy about getting it then. You know, I like to have stuff really on my own. Yeah, I think, I mean, the you can buy this really crazy titles, so I feel like oftentimes it's not really guaranteed that the people that have this crazy titles in Guild Wars 2 are actually someone that beat the boss. So it's more like they bought it, and then that you don't know if they're a really good player. But I mean, what can you do? It's their decision to do that, and if Arena is not banning them for doing stuff like that, then yeah, that's how it is. Golem Buster weapons, yeah, I know those one. Yeah. I think I would say, Sochi, I would say I can see where you're coming from and where you would say this is horrible that you can do that in games. But I feel like it's really hard to circumvent, to say this is not possible in a game or that you ban all the people that do it. I think that's really hard. I think they will always find a way. And I personally think it's sad. You should make it so that there are some prestigious things that you can't really get without really competing in there and doing it yourself. But I feel like it's just unrealistic to expect that. I feel like the players are always more creative than the developers. That's the sad truth, I would say. Yeah. Yeah. When would you recommend jumping to CM strike missions? So there are special KPs, so special kill proofs for strike mission CMs, and those you only get from strike missions CMs. So typically you have to start out in a training group without any, so to say, without any previous experience, and you have to learn it there. And then you would get kill proof from this first try, and then you will continue to grow up your kill proof and just increase it after some time. But it's a painful way, and the better way would probably be to just say, okay, I will go into some kind of raid static and CM static, or I would go into some kind of training static that is actually maybe some kind of Discord server that does it, something like that. That would be the better way to actually get into strike mission CMs. But it's really hard to get that only with pugging, because you have to start out with no KP at all, typically, and go in at some kind of training static or training group at all in pugs if you really want to. Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Arthur. See you. Welcome, Luis. Hope you had a nice day so far. I don't know. I feel like I'm not. I think I would say I agree that it's a bad thing that you can't do that. But if you can do it in a game, I would never judge someone that actually sells raids or sells some kind of stuff. I think that has to be managed by the developers. I would not judge people that actually get gold out of that. It's just how people are. You know, if you're really good at something, you want to sell it to someone that's actually not that good, and you get some income out of that. I think that's how it works. Tempest is mega awesome. I hope it's viable in all game modes. Yes, it actually is very good in all game modes. Yeah. Don't worry. Start out in some easy content, like for example what I'm doing, Iceboot Saga strike missions. Be the healer there and slowly increase the difficulty, and you will actually have a lot of fun with it. Tempest is really fun. Yeah, I already have a guide about healing Tempest. It's one of my older ones, but it's still up to date, so you can check it out. But I will of course also do more guides, especially when it comes to DPS Tempest and stuff. Yeah. Yeah, if Druid and Fractals is underrated, I would say it's definitely quite decent, but it lacks a little bit of frequent stability uptime. That's the problem. That's why Chronomancer and Firebrand are straight up better in, let's say, tier 4s and CMs. But Druid can work in tier 4 Fractals as well. Just in CMs, I would say Druid is a little bit lackluster, because there you really want to have stability. Another controversial opinion from you, okay? I did hit Harvest Temple CM with a group of people I knew, and I hated every second of it in retrospect, okay? Yeah, I mean, that's a little bit sad, of course, if you look back to stuff like that. I think that's always like, in the end, you might regret if you do stuff like that. I'm not sure. That's why I really want to get it done with my own group and stuff, and really think, okay, I try to do it and maybe create a group on on my own to actually get this done and really grind for the achievements that are quite hard to get. And then you have way bigger of a prestigious reward, even though the title might not be as prestigious, but at least you have the feeling for yourself. Yeah. Yeah, no problem, no problem. Always happy to help. And like I said, I will try to make more build guides about all classes, not only Elementalist in the future. But I think my to-do list is so long in terms of build guides and stuff that I want to get out on YouTube. I'm working a lot on my build guides, so I really want to get that out as well. So don't worry, will come out at some point, but I'm not sure if I can do all the Tempest and hybrid Celestial Tempest and what else I have planned for Tempest in the next week. Yeah, I think that if you go for Wing 8 CN, LCM rather, that takes a long time, I think, to get it on yourself. I think it's cool. It's a cool achievement if you get it, but I feel like you really have to commit hard to actually get that done. Yeah. Yeah, Druid is nice. Don't worry too much. Actually, you can play all weapons. Like, actually, Tempest is quite open to weapons choices. So I would say Hammer Tempest is a very good DPS option. If you go for some kind of Scepter Tempest, it's also decent as a DPS. If you go for Dagger, it's typically more of a Celestial build or support build. So every weapon can work, even if you wanted to. Pistol can work. It's just more like it depends on the gear stats that you equip with the weapon. Yeah. Can you explain how the EU versus NA servers work? Okay, so Guild Wars 2 has only 2 distinct servers nowadays. Yeah. There are only 2, so to say, that you can join if you are on the Western world. There are some Chinese servers as well, but the Chinese servers are obviously very, so to say, spread. You can't join them. It's completely split. But NA and EU are just, so to say, if I play on EU right now, you can't join me from NA. That's not possible. But you can trade to me. We can send each other. Oh my god, this guy instantly killed me. You can... Yeah, okay. You can trade to me. You can send gold to me. You can whisper me. You can actually not play with me. You can't play PvP. You can't play PvE with me. You can't play World versus World with me. But if you go to if I move to NA with my... Sorry. If I move to NA with my account, I can do that. Just transfer there. I might have a high ping, but I can do everything with you there. So it doesn't matter on which server on NA I am. That's just cosmetic, so to say. It doesn't matter nowadays. You can easy vibe on Whisper. This group is so bad. It's actually insane. I mean, I died here because someone was with the chain behind me, but it's not good. So that's the thing. So are you only able to play with those on your specific server? No. You can play, if I'm on NA, I can play with every single server on NA. If I'm on EU, I can play with every single server on EU. But I cannot play with people from NA if I'm from EU. That's the only split. Yeah. And it doesn't matter which content you play, PvP, World versus World, everything is bound by that. And previously we had some kind of old server system for World vs. World, even for PvE, but nowadays it doesn't matter. Yeah. Oh, let's do it once again. This group is really bad. Oh my god, and my Continuum Splift also bugged. That's always painful. Now my Alacrity uptime is also bad. Not good, not what we want to see. Yeah. To be fair, the only class I would not recommend for new players might be Elementalist, since while it can slap, Elementalist downside rotation was not a joke in this technically glorified piano. I would say it depends. I think you should always say fun above everything else. I think if you enjoy the mage fantasy, you should go for Elementalist still. You know, especially if you don't mind to be a little bit, let's say, challenged in the beginning. I think it's still worth it to try it out. I think if it would be way worse if you play a class that someone said is easy to play and you don't have enough fun with it, and then maybe you quit the game if you're not enjoying the class. It would be way better if you start on a class that you enjoy, even if it's a little bit harder to play, and then you will get into the game and really enjoy it, I feel like, at some point. Because I feel like the beginning, the first few levels are actually not that bad, and if you reach level 80, there are so many builds, even tankier versions on Elementalist, that it's not too much of a hassle to actually get content done. At least that's my opinion. Of course, it comes from a veteran that has way too many hours in Guild Wars 2, so yes, I get that. But personally, I think it's a little bit overrated how hard Elementalist is considered by the community. Yeah, I think it's not the easiest class, yes, but I feel like if you go for some kind of healing catalyst build or even some kind of Tempest builds, they are not that fast-paced. Yes, there are some Catalyst DPS builds that are absolutely insane how much piano you play, but it's not like you can't make them work if you don't want to go full try-hard mode. I think that's still doable. Yeah, Staff is sadly not a crazy good weapon. That's a big problem, I would agree. Staff in PvE is more like of a support Catalyst weapon, and that's about it. Everything else doesn't play Staff, sadly. It's not what people expect when they play a Staff as a DPS weapon. It's just not working like that. Yeah. It is worth it, is fun, but only way to open world is as a new player without chewing through 3 keywords on the summons all the way. Yeah, I mean, that might be true, but I feel like the leveling process in Guild Wars 2, there are a lot of classes that are actually not that fun. So for example, I think one of the worst classes to level on is Mesmer. I think Mesmer is really bad to level on. Even though it's one of the best classes in PvE, I would say, because it is so flexible what it can do. It's one of the worst classes to level on because it actually has such a bad time with the utility skills and just the damage. Yeah. But it's just my take. Yeah. Yeah, I think you should you should always consider, do you like a challenge? Do you want to go easy mode? Do you want to play a class that you enjoy? I think you should always find a spot where there's some kind of middle ground between those things. Yeah. Is there a low intensity Mesmer builds? Yes, there is. I will make a guide about it very soon. It's some kind of altered Condi Virtuoso. It's very easy to play. You just play a Condi Virtuoso, you have full range, you don't press a lot of buttons, and it's very low APM. So I will do a build guide about it very soon. And it's, I would say, very nice to get into Virtuoso especially. Yeah. I'm a noob, and to be honest, Elementalist is not that hard. I mean, you need to spam on every spec. Yeah, I think that, of course, there are builds that are not that spammy, and there are builds that are way more spammy. But I think Elementalist tends to be more of the spammy ones because you have so many buttons. But I think it's overrated in how challenging it is. I played Renegade for a long time because I lost Revenant. Now I'm playing Vindicator. I mean, that's good, you know. That's how typical progression in Guild Wars 2 is. You play one class and at some point you swap to another one and you will be maybe enjoying it more. Maybe you go back to the other one. I mean, just variety is the spice of life, and that's the same for Guild Wars 2. Just try out different things, yeah, if you can. Yeah, that's true. I would say the worst 2 classes to level would be Mesmer and Thief. Yeah, I have to be honest. It's such a long time ago that I leveled anything in Guild Wars 2, so I can't give you the best up-to-date options on that. But of course, I think this is definitely a valid point that Mesmer and Thief is not that easy to level on. Yeah, that's true. So let's see if we can get the CC. Nice, we did get it. And I was CCing a lot. That's good, because then you can carry if you CC a lot. Very nice. And then we instantly skip 20% of the boss. Do you own the Ingenious Regalio outfit? Yes, I think I own all the outfits, so I can show you after this. I like Mesmer because there are so many builds, roles, and it has so many tools for the fight. Exactly. I think Mesmer is in PvE one of the best classes right now because it is just so flexible. It doesn't need to be the best in every single spot, which is currently isn't for the most part. It is a very good one, but it might not be the best all the time. But, and that's the important part, I think it's a very flexible role. So you can easily pick and choose whatever you currently need as your group. So for example, I'm now playing Alacrity DPS, even though this group is so bad, we have to reset. I should probably go Alacrity Heal here, but then I'm top DPS. If I go Alacrity Heal here, we'll take 10 minutes for this boss. It feels so bad. Yep. Engineer is also quite good in PvE. Engineer is a little bit lackluster in competitive modes though. So if you want to go in competitive modes, especially PvP right now, Engineer is not that good. I want one when it comes back to the shop. Yeah. I mean, that's always a problem if you don't have something that you really, really want to. Then you have to wait. That's just how it goes. Okay, one more try. Yeah, Pistol Thief is just not only for key farming, but in general, Pistol Thief is... Oh, God. Continuum Shift almost killed me here. So, Pistol Thief, I think, is such an easy build, such a fun build as well. And it's crazy how much DPS you do with this build. So, if you enjoy it, Thief, this is the build for you if you're looking for an easy build, for sure. So now we didn't get the CC. That's bad. Last time we died even though we had the CC, so I'm not sure if we can do this. The healing is also not that great, I have to admit. Oh, come on, guys. How bad is this puck? It's actually insane. Crazy. Yeah, I mean, I try my best, obviously, to multitasking, but I mean, I can't carry this group. Because they are actually dying to the hands, you know. Even if I played healer, they would die there. So, I'm not sure how we can defeat this boss if they die to this consistently. Am I a pro? I wouldn't say so. I mean, I just played this for way too often. You know, if you play a build for a lot of times, then you can talk and read chat while doing stuff. You know, I play this boss usually without dodging on Mesmer, just because you have, I know it in and out. You know, there's not another big thing that I haven't done on this boss. You know, I played almost any build here. So yeah, that's just, I do it almost every day. So then every one of you would do the same if you did it for over a year every day or something. That's you can also talk about stuff then. How could you die off screen here? What? There is not even an attack under you, and we didn't get the CC again. I'm not sure if we can get the kill here. Yeah, you can't carry anymore, sadly, with the, how is it called? Transfusion. That was absolutely broken. Then I would instantly swap to Scourge. That's a risky one. Nice. So if I had the transfusion to just get the, oh my god, I just died to the passive damage here. It's actually crazy. The healers are not doing their job, and the people are dying off randomly to attacks here. That's a big problem. Okay, we get the CC here, I hope. No. I mean, I'm solo CCing as well. I don't know. I'm not sure if we can actually kill this boss. I try my best, I really do. I don't want to be pessimistic or anything, you know. I'm just saying this looks rather out of their league. I don't know. And this is one of the easiest bosses in the game, and the people are still struggling with it because it's just very punishing, I would say, if you don't look at your monitor and don't see the attacks. You know, this is orange. If you don't stand in it, then you will survive. If you stand in it, you will die. I mean, I can try to CC here, but it's not gonna be enough without the special action key. I mean, this looks like a decent pick. I mean, I think decent try. I think it's doable. But it could vibe at any moment if they just die to the attack. I mean, nah, it's maybe they learned after the fourth or fifth try. Maybe they learned it. I mean, you see, I didn't dodge a single time in this fight, and I'm top DPS with a Alacrity DPS. So this is just the knowledge about the fight. It's not I'm specifically very good at this. I'm just the others are very bad at it, and I just know what is happening. That's the difference here. Good question. I know defines break weakens the boss break bar, but if it's considered a general CC, not sure. So 2 things. So there are, if you want to see how much CC a skill does, you can hover over it. For example, this one, Counterblade, and you see on the bottom, defines break bar damage in some kind of bluish gray, 200. You can see that? That means that it does CC. If I go over another CC skill, for example, Moa, Signet of Humility, defines break bar damage 600. So if you then sum that up and just check out which kind of skills you have and which kind of skills do CC to the boss, then if you know that and you can time them correctly, then if everyone does that, you break the bar easily and you get some kind of stun on the boss that not only makes it more, taking more damage, but also makes it so that you actually don't have to move, don't have to avoid the attacks. And that's obviously way more damage as well. Yeah. To be fair, don't we all technically do the bone skill in an incorrect way? Isn't the intended way to technically light the lanterns? That's correct. That's actually how you should do it. And I think in the history of the game, there will probably be less than 100 groups that did it correctly. I have to admit. I think ever since it came out, there was not a lot of groups that actually did it like the intended way. Just because the intended way is slower and is not really that interactive. You would rather have a healer that out-heals the aura ticks. That's just the truth. I feel like this is a positive and a negative. I like to have some creative theory crafting, but at the same time I also dislike it when you completely ignore mechanics. I think that's not something that I particularly enjoy. I like to have stuff that is actually somewhat interesting in the mechanic and you have to engage with it. Yeah. There's an achievement for it. Yes, there is an achievement, I agree. I also have it because I did it when it came out. I don't know where it actually is. On the strike? No, it's not on the strike missions. Is it on the... Where is it? Let me find it. We will find it together. Is it... General? No, it's not general. Where is it? There is some kind of achievement. Is it in the story channel? Whispers in the Dark? I think there might be. We have to check it out later. Let's first kill the boss here. I think it's in the Iceblood Saga content, of course, but it's also in the story channel. I'm pretty sure. Really, your fashion advice would be to play Char? That's crazy. I think not a lot of people actually enjoy playing Char. I'm a little bit indifferent. I'm not the biggest fan of Char, but I don't mind playing them. I think they are just way too big for typical fashion design. I'm not a big fashion enthusiast about that, so I can't give you any feedback on how Char armor looks. Maybe Filthy can help out there. But I personally don't really. Female human meta, nothing more to say. Exactly. I mean, that's the class that I'm always playing PvE, so let's take a look. Kill the Bone Skinner. Lighting. Something in here, is it? I will find it. I will find it. But yeah, I think this achievement is one of the... I think it's cool to have an achievement like that, but I think not a lot of people actually nowadays will get it anymore. It's just not a lot of people do that in the original intended way. And I think that's okay because we got so much power creep in the game. Why would you actually do it intended way? It's just way easier and way faster to actually do it exactly like I did it with this group, even though we didn't have a decent group. Yeah, you see, I'm out DPSing them, even though I think this is a very bad group, sadly. Sylvari for the win? Yeah, I mean, I think there are arguments for all of them. I have all of the classes, I have so many characters, I have all of them. And I just use them for different game modes. So I use for PvE, I use my humans. For PvP, I use my Sylvaris. And for World vs. World, I use my Asuras. And the other characters are my storage characters. But of course, not everyone has that. So I think you should use what you like. I think I wouldn't say there is one class that is one race that is way better than the others. I think it's just, I don't know, choose what you like. And I just think objectively, humans have the best amount of stats, the amount of skins in the game, because I think a lot of the skins are quite well suited for humans. And if you then equip them on char, there are some clipping issues, there are some just general, they are not really fitted for them, looks weird. So I feel like humans have the best overall how the skins are suited to them. But if you don't mind having a different, I don't know, a little bit of clipping with the horns or something, then char is actually decent as well. Yeah. Hold on to the light. That's it. Very good. So where do I have to go? To fire. Yeah, I think that's also just a lot of problems with the engine and stuff. I think that's just an old game. And I think a lot of old games have this clipping issues and stuff, that you just have armor and skins and stuff that are not really perfectly suited for the character size all the time. I think that's just very commonly the issue. Sadly, very sadly actually, because I think that's keeping a lot of people from being really enthusiastic about creating new fashion for char, because oftentimes the fashion looks just bad if you have clipping stuff happening at the same time. I don't know. They should not make 5 races just stick to humans like in Guild Wars 1. I'm not sure. I think if the engine allows it to make multiple new crazy class designs, like maybe, or race designs rather, like some kind of Kodan, some kind of whatever they come up with, that would be amazing for just general interest in the game. If they make it in Guild Wars 3, I think they will never add a new race rather to Guild Wars 2. That will never happen in my opinion. It's not very likely. It's just too much effort, I think, for them. But maybe it comes with the next expansion because they delayed it. Maybe it's some kind of big feature. That could be a big feature. Yes, Asura need a wardrobe upgrade. I mean, I think that there are a lot of things that need an upgrade. Why are they? I'm completely alone now here. Not good. I guess it's fine. I can solo this guy. Hopefully. There we go. Char have the best voice lines? Yeah, could be. I don't know. I don't listen to a lot of Char voice lines, I have to be honest. Human fashion is like easy mode if you play hardcore. You go Char or Asura. I guess that's correct then, yeah. But I'm like I said, I don't, am not really interested in that much fashion. I'm just, you know, I'm equipping one fashion style once and that's it. I don't swap it around for years. But of course, if you're interested in that, then maybe you should go for Char and really try your best with, and try to go for crazy looks without any clipping. I guess that you could make that work. True. Mesmer is never alone. That's why it's the best solo build. I guess you're right. Melasura shouts some stuff about being 6 feet tall when they get wounds. That's interesting. I mean, if you play human, female or something, then they shout all the time, I'm faster than a centaur or something when you get swiftness. That's also very annoying. I think if you listen to the voice lines and play a character very often, then you will probably go mad at some point because the voice lines are just repeating over and over and over again. Yeah. But I feel like typically when I play Guild Wars 2, either I am streaming, so I don't have any, so to say, crazy voice lines active in the background because I'm talking to you guys, or I'm just playing some really concentrated gameplay off stream and or making a video about stuff, and then I don't have any voice lines on. I'm just listening to music or listening to the game sounds, the sound effects of the attacks and stuff, because don't underestimate that, especially if you play competitive modes. If you have the sound effects on, you can, for example, hear stuff that is actually happening off screen. So if, for example, a Mesmer comes from back and uses Torch 4 or something, you hear that. So you hear that they are actually using an attack that is actually potentially killing you, or at least making it hard for you to survive. So that can help, but I personally listen to a lot of music in the background and not always to Guild Wars 2 sounds, because I just played the game for 10 years and would always be the same sounds. I'm just trying to figure out those types of people that slap on all the infusions and look like a walking supernova. I think they don't. I think there are two types of people. There are those people, which is probably 90% of the people that you just referred to, that are just interested in showing off what they crazy of amount of infusions they have, just like a show off. Yeah, and then you have the crazy amount of, let's say 1%, maybe to 10%. I don't know the real numbers, but the people that actually enjoyed it, I think this number is small, but those people are the real crazy people to me. If you run around like with full flashy effects and think this is a really cool look, then fair. But yeah. I feel like personally attacked. No, I don't want to attack anyone here. I'm just saying I think this is completely fine. Everyone can run around with their own fashion. I think especially nowadays with the specific slider where you can turn down the enemy allies effects and skins and stuff, that's really good. But yeah, I think I personally wouldn't go for a full flashy effect and only a walking bolt of light or something. That's not what I want to. I want to see my character. I just like the check infusion stack, so I guess I'm type 2. I guess then you're type 2 if you really like the... I mean, I think if you only go for one infusion and you like the just effect and want to have a crazy amount of this effect, I think that's actually okay. But if you go for 10 infusions that look different and are just bright at this point and you can't really see what actually is happening, then that's just crazy to me. I mean, that's just like a walking light bulb. That's it. I'm not the biggest fan. The true 1% of Guild Wars 2 players. Yeah, exactly. Do you think they do one day an expansion where you can have the old Ascalon back or so? I don't think so. I think the expansions are really small in size nowadays, and you will just get a new map or 2 new maps. And I think you will not get some kind of heavy time travel or something like that. I think that's not really gonna happen, to be honest. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they cook out something crazy, but I feel like they will stick to the same stuff and will just complete new stuff and will not go back to anything that we had already in the game. Yeah. Interesting, Filthy. Thanks, by the way, Driven and Golem, for the follow, if I didn't mention it yet. Really appreciate it. As always, if you have any comments, any feedbacks, let me know. I'm always happy to answer questions as well, so if you're a new player, and don't be shy, just ask something. You have something on your mind. So let's see if I can get some nice event here. I didn't do my weekly quest here, so I want to get my stuff for the backpack, because if you don't know, we have the backpack coming out in a month. And where is it? Those things, I don't know how many you need of those. I have 160 stored. Currently they are, I don't know, 160 or something. I don't know if it will drop, if it goes up in price. We will only know when it comes out, the backpack. But this is needed for the legendary backpack, that much is for sure. And I just stock up on those, and you get 20 of those per week if you do the weekly event or weekly quest. So that's what I'm gonna do. I think the map is okay if I play it once a week. I'm not too worried about playing it. But if I would have to grind it for the backpack when it comes out for, I don't know, weeks, I think that would be horrible, because the map is just very small. It's very small. I think having a very small map with high condensed events and stuff is good, but only for a limited amount of time. If I would go grindy like the Soto maps and stuff, and then I would go probably completely insane. I'm not sure if I could do that. So I want to start out early. My new features you would like to see. Any new features you would like to see in the new expansion? Biomes, mounts, professions. So I think I'm very split in terms of if I would really like to see new classes or new elite specs and stuff, because I would really like to see it as some kind of more, as a tool to give more build crafting and stuff for me. But at the same time, I feel like they would completely be overwhelmed with the balancing if they would introduce new classes, new elite specs. So I personally think that's quite unlikely that they will do it. But new biomes, I mean, I don't mind just more new maps, then I would be happy about it. You know, more stuff, you know, more content. That's the main thing that I want to see. Of course, some really cool long-term gameplay, like a lot of legendaries with a lot of cool new skins. That would be amazing. I would like that a lot. So, for example, like the Oreen skins, just cool-looking legendaries that I can go for and grind, even if I don't equip them. Just have them. That would be cool. Just some nice grind going on. But it's just from a veteran. I don't have any particular interest. I just want to have more of the game, you know, more new stuff. Yeah, it's crazy. If you continue to grow my channel so fast on YouTube, then I will go broke very soon if I do my giveaways all the time. Yeah, that's true. Good point. If you ask me, the limiting factor will most certainly be the Mossad Ruin shots. Could be. I mean, I'm not sure. I really don't sure. I think they will probably also have some kind of stuff with the new map that comes out that is actually not possible for you to obtain right now. And there might be some time gate there as well. I feel like they really try to make the new map and this map somewhat of very long-term replayable. And if they just have something that you can grind on all the maps, that will probably lead to people just having stuff already. If it's on the new map, you have to grind the new map. And I think that's what they were gonna do. They will add a lot of new stuff, or some new stuff that you have to grind, and then that will spike the price of the new backpack. And because it's an open world legendary, it might also require a lot of that, because the open world armor is actually one of the most grindy things in the game, if you just look at this. So I think that might be the case. Welcome, Froze. Welcome. What I want to see, Jewel crafting 500, legendary underwater breeder, and new world versus world birder. Okay, I think the new world versus world birder, that could actually be happening, but I think that they actually learned out of the desert Borderlands, and I think a lot of people actually don't really mind having to play on the old Borderlands. But I think that could be okay. Yeah, I would actually agree with that. Legendary underwater breeder, I think that will come at some point for sure. I'm not sure if it will come with the next expansion. And Jeweler crafting 500, I would say this is for me. I don't see a reason why you actually want that. What is actually in there? What would you get out of that? You know, you can make ascended food on the 500 cooking, but what can you get from going to 500 jeweler crafting? What is the? Would you go for getting ascended trinkets? Because that would completely invalidate the other farming methods, because no one would do that anymore. And people typically don't need to do that. Why would you go for 500? I don't know. It would be crazy. I don't know. I'm not sure. No problem. Glad you enjoyed the Untamed build, Floody. And I'm not sure. In terms of biomes, I think the new expansion will not go back to any stuff that we already know. I think they will go for new stuff. That's pretty sure what I think. Would you recommend the Warrior for a new player? I like a class that has big melee AoE damage in other games and I want to play solo. I think Warrior is quite good for that, or Guardian. Those two would be probably my melee recommendations. They are actually quite good in a solo scenario, and for new player, they are quite friendly for you. Not too hard to get into, and it's very fitting to the playstyle that you described. I would go for Warrior or Guardian. Yeah. How long to get the EOD legendary skins casually? It depends how casually, but I would say if you play, especially the EOD meta events and stuff, consistently and get enough gold, then I would say you can do it in a month if you play it casually. If you go grind hard, you can get it really, really fast as well. But I personally think realistically something between 2 weeks and 4 weeks, depending how casually you play them, you can actually do it. It's not too grindy. It's more for gold sync, and the gold is actually not that high anymore nowadays with the general direction of how the mystic coins and stuff are actually going. It's not too bad. right now. Yeah. Scribe 500. I mean, that would be cool if you get all this stuff upgraded. That would be amazing. I would love that as well, just for the completionist's sakes. But I'm not sure if that will really happen at some point. I'm not completely sure about that. A new trade line for classes would be nice. Make some classes more diverse. That would be really cool. I think they should maybe add more new core trade lines. That would be amazing, because then you had more build crafting in general. You know, you could add that to every elite spec. That would be crazy good. But I feel like the balancing of that would be horrible. I don't know how to balance that. I think they would be completely overwhelmed. I think it's more likely that they will just add more core utility skills. So for example, we don't have an elite mantra. I think they will add an elite mantra maybe. They would maybe add some kind of, I don't know, would just complete the sets, you know, would say, okay, we need, for example, I don't know, a healing manipulation. Or we have a healing manipulation, but whatever, they would complete those sets, maybe give a complete new set, maybe give, I don't know, deception skills to Mesmer, something like that. I don't know, or cantrips, something like that. I think that could be helpful, because then you could fill some holes that are missing in other classes, like elementalists and stuff. I think that's quite likely. Please don't take it offensive, but I'm very curious. I know that you have enormous playtime, so you almost have everything in the board. Is it possible without spending real money? Yes, I mean, I did that. I played the game and only bought the expansions. That's what I did. I just play a lot in the game and you get it. But of course, if you're referring to free-to-play only and you can't pay anything for Guild Wars 2, then it's impossible, I would say. You need the trading post. And the trading post restriction on free-to-play are not... You can't really make that work. But if you play and only pay for the expansion, then you can get a lot of that stuff, or all of it like I did, if you just put enough hours in. So it's just time and effort and efficient gameplay. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think getting more elite specs and more elite just stuff is probably too much in terms of balancing. Adding more core class utility skills, I think that's okay. And I think they might add more weapons, but at this point, I think there are so many weapons already in the game. I think it's actually not that likely that we actually get more weapons. I don't see what is actually missing. I think it's more likely that we get some weapon reworks that are underused and buff them or something. I think that's way more likely. To be fair, the thing that is worse than for the Gen 3 realms than the gold is the karma and the spirit shards. For most people, 33 million karma and 10,000 spirit shards, and that without even taking any core Gen 3 account. Yeah, I think that's why a lot of people were surprised. Or, you know, I always say, if you need a lot of, if you want to make gold out of spirit shards and karma, then I always say, do you ever plan on going for the Gen 3 legendaries? Because if the answer is yes, then you should not convert it, because you need so much of them. It's really important. But I don't have the problem. I have all of the Gen 3s and the skins and stuff, and I still have almost 4.5k of those. And I have 10,000 tomes of knowledge, because I just played the game for too much, and I have 32 million karma as well. So it's just, if you play a lot, it's actually doable. But if you are a casual player, then it's actually very grindy. It's very, very grindy. Yeah. Would Guild Wars 2 players like an opt-in open world PvP feature? I think that would not go well. I think it's quite likely that this will be the downfall of Guild Wars 2 if they would do that. I think they would have a lot of development time for that, and people would not enjoy it. I think that's what World vs. World is, and you don't want to have that in some kind of PvP grinding scenario. We had that in World vs. World, or still have it, with the jumping puzzles there, where you need, for example, for the old legendaries, back in the old days, you needed to go for the jumping puzzles in World vs. World, and you could knock down players there, and you could really make it really challenging for them to get up there. And that was really fun for the people that were toxic and standing there, but for the people that wanted to go for the legendary, that was not that fun. So I think they will never do that again. Yeah. What is silver best for, Silma? I mean, I would say for farming gold, I think you reach 20 to 25 gold per hour there if you do it correctly. So it's a nice gold farm. Yeah, I think I would agree. If you play a lot, like Sura and I, then you have a lot of stuff, I would say, lying around. Yeah, that like bullet charts and stuff. But if you're a new player and you want to go for that and you want to go crazy and grind them, then it's actually it's a big grind. Yeah, that much is for sure. Yeah. Open world PvP, don't think plenty would like that in Guild Wars 2. I think Guild Wars 2 is a casual game. It's not like you don't want to have an open world PvP in a casual game. I think that's not fitting. Yeah. Yeah, and PvP is also very dead. So not a lot of people actually play Guild Wars 2 for PvP right now. So why would that change if you make an open world thing? It's in my opinion not that likely. Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, but we don't know what they are currently developing. I mean, I would say it's okay in terms of, I think it's possible that they might develop something big like that, but I highly doubt it will be some kind of open world PvP. I think that's just very unlikely. They will probably make some really cool, nice feature, but it will not be open world PvP. I'm pretty sure about that. I'm also pretty sure it will not be a new race. I think that's also very unlikely. Clip me on that. If it will happen, then I have to do something, but I think it's quite unlikely that this will happen. Do I have all of those? Yes. I just think it would be natural because the maps are huge and deaths are not really that punishing. I would maybe it for the cheese. I think yes, but they had to do this decision in the beginning of the game. They can't just say after 12 years we will change that. I think that's just very unlikely. That would alienate the player base. And I think if you start a Guild Wars 3, for example, and make, let's say, 10 maps at the release, and there you had this open world PvP opt-in option, then yes, then it could be different. But if you make Guild Wars 2 and suddenly change it, that would completely alienate the player base. The biggest player base of Guild Wars 2 is open world enjoyers that are playing Guild Wars 2 in a casual way and are not really crazy tryhard and are also not really interested in competitive modes, yeah, for the most part. If they do something similar like Guild Wars 2 with a better engine, I would be super happy already. Yeah, I think this is the problem. Will they do it? There are two big options. If they are currently working on Guild Wars 3, we don't know that for sure, but it could be. And it's quite likely, I would say. Will they do a clone of Guild Wars 2? So will they do the same game again, just with a better engine? There are very good options and arguments for that. Or will they do something completely different and say we will run Guild Wars 2 in tandem with Guild Wars 3 with a different aspect. So Guild Wars 2 is more focused on open world content, and while Guild Wars 3 is maybe completely PvP focused. I don't know. Maybe it's completely focused on instance content. Maybe it's not an MMO at all. Maybe it's an RPG. We don't know. So I think there are a lot of options there. Yeah. And like Nino points out, this is not WoW. So that means that you are this is a casual base where you don't want to have open world PvP because this is not what the people are actually enjoying in Guild Wars 2. And I think that's also very likely why they will never change how Guild Wars 2 is actually played for that reason. We don't have a subscription fee. We don't have crazy try-hard PvP. We have more a casual community. That's how it is. Open world PvP was one of the most annoying parts in WoW 2 since hand to heart. Open world PvP is almost never the heroic fantasy of fighting a mighty battle against a worthy foe. Yeah, of course, it's always like the better gear beats you. That's typically how it goes, yeah. I mean, it could be, like the Codan could become playable. I don't know, could be in the X expansion maybe? Maybe in Guild Wars 3, we don't know. I don't know anything about it. Yeah, like Filthy Bites aren't. It's a casual game, yeah. It's just Guild Wars 2. I just hope they don't follow the stream of sandbox survival games that seem to be the trend right now. I really don't know. I think for me as a content creator, I would really love to see more information on what they are currently doing. I think that would be amazing, but it's quite unlikely that they will tell us any time soon, because I feel like if they would tell us, they would probably lose a big amount of their customers right now that play for Guild Wars 2 and pay for mounts. Yeah, that's just, I feel like it's quite unlikely that they will announce it anytime soon. They will probably announce it way later if they have the option to and don't get any leaks and stuff, because they want to keep it closed and secret and get more money out of Guild Wars 2. Yeah. But we need to make Sim a full-time streamer to teach us the new game. Yeah, I mean, that would be cool. I mean, I would really like to make content about Guild Wars 3 when it comes out. But like I said, I think it will be in 3 years or something at earliest. You know, I think it's the realistic thing would be something like 2030 or something, to be honest. And they announce it in 3 years. Because building an MMO from scratch in a new engine, maybe converting some assets from Guild Wars 2 and Guild Wars 1 to that, it will take years, you know, years. Yeah. In your opinion, what's more tanky between a Power Windy and a Power Reaper? Power Reaper for sure. Power Reaper is very tanky because of the Shroud. And the health pool also helps a lot. Power Windy just dodges a lot, but it's very melee focused, and you get punished if you use your dodge in the rotation, which you have to do to get maximum damage. So if you need to dodge an attack as well, then you get punished if you don't have your dodge up for the damage, or if you don't have your dodge up for the attack, then you will get punished in terms of damage that you take. So overall, I would say Vindicator is more punishing. Yeah. People don't play Stronghold. Stronghold is completely dead. I would say there are 5 people queuing up per week in Stronghold, I would say. No, I'm joking, but it's really low. No one plays Stronghold for the most part. Yeah. To be fair, ANET can't really compete against the modern Giga graphic MMOs. They need to niche in case since they would need like 5 times the number of employee for that. I think it's okay. You know, the biggest MMOs right now are like Final Fantasy, WoW, and old school RuneScape, and maybe Elder Scrolls Online, and then comes Guild Wars 2 already, you know? Those are the biggest MMOs in terms of player base, I would say. Maybe some other niche MMOs in terms of that they are not really MMOs, they're more like some kind of RPG games with a multiplayer element, but those are the biggest ones. What is their biggest selling point? They are old and have a lot of content. They are not especially graphically attractive, you know? So I think you don't have to make a really crazy good MMO. You just or crazy fancy looking MMO. You just have to make good content and a lot of it. Yeah. And I think the combat of Guild Wars 2 is the biggest selling point of Guild Wars 2. Yeah, it could be. It could be. I actually would really like it if it could come sooner than it would be. They had shop postings since 2021. Yes, that's correct. But I feel like even if they already started looking for people there, then we still have, let's say, they started maybe in 2022. And then they had now 3 years where they slowly worked on it, but also worked on Guild Wars 2. And now they slowly transition more people to work on it. I think it's still quite far out. And if they release it, it will probably be released in some kind of early access, and they slow release it, and they will not have a big release at once. That can be good, that can be bad, but I think that's just how the industry currently does it. So I think it's quite likely that we get an early access, a very early access of Guild Wars 3 when it will release at some point. Recently soon, but the full release is still years out. That much is for sure. I would say, yeah. The real answer is the Reaper has more passive defenses, while Vindicator has more active defenses, so it really depends on your player. In PvE, I would say Vindicator doesn't have any defensive. That's the true answer here, because you need to dodge for your rotation. So if the dodge aligns with your damage of the boss that the boss does to you, then yes, you have more active defenses. That's correct. But in a lot of cases, the boss does not attack when you're currently dodging. So you lose your dodge for your damage, and then you only have a block. That's it. So keep that in mind. I would say for most people, Reaper is way more defensive. Ah, you mean the new ones, the MMOs that try to achieve some kind of breakthrough and are just new. Yeah, that's true. Then I'm with you. Yeah. Do you think ArenaNet are being forced to move on to Guild Wars 3 because of financials, or is it because it's hard to revamp Guild Wars 2? I think the truth is probably in between. I think they want to not only put all their money in one basket, yeah, so to say. They want to diversify and maybe get more new players with a new MMO or new game. And if it works for them, then they might try to not only work on Guild Wars 3, but maybe even go for Guild Wars 2 at the same time as well, because that might be the safe bet as well, you know, to go for multiple games at the same time, because that's, for example, what Blizzard does. They not only focus on World of Warcraft, they have other games as well, and that's how they should probably do it as well in Guild Wars 2. To make Guild Wars 2 a game that works still in parallel, while they also have the game of Guild Wars 3 developing, and maybe make content for both of them. Oh, come on. Yeah, so let me quickly win this 1v3 here, and then we can talk back about it. Yeah. The new game is probably an Unreal Engine, but I'm not sure if that's the smart choice. I don't really know too much about it. About engine development and what kind of engine you should talk about and use for Guild Wars kind of games. I don't know. But I think it's an Unreal Engine. At least they are looking for Unreal developers, but that could also mean that they just want to get more people that are experienced with a new engine that they are developing as well in-house. Mr. Smith, you can change the Oreen things if you go for a collection achievement. So you go for the Oreen collection achievement. And where is it? Somewhere. End of Dragons, Oreen facets, and then you have to go through a full collection achievements, which is called like Oreen Facet of Fire, for example, and you have to complete the whole line and do multiple events and stuff and get that done. Refair Guild Wars 2 actually did a very decent for NCSoft. Like, no, not mobile game level, decent, but very decent. Yeah, I think Guild Wars 2 is carrying NCSoft very, very hard. If they didn't have Guild Wars 2 as a, let's say, money maker, then they would probably be already quite lost, even more than they already are in NCSoft. So I think they are pushing them to make more money, maybe with a Guild Wars 3, but I think it's also in its interest to actually make more, because Guild Wars 2 gets quite old. It's now, let's say, 13 years old. It will get even older. Yes, but it might not have the player bases that they need to actually grow and invest in more money. I think that's safe to say, yeah. I would like it if they give up on Guild Wars 3 and just make Guild Wars 2 better, update graphics, some mechanics. I think that's a fair take, but we don't know what's in the background. So maybe it's too hard for them to upgrade the graphics because the engine is just too old. Maybe it's easier to make a new game than to update the old game. You know, that sounds crazy, but that could be the case. We don't know. I'm not a developer, and I can't tell you how that actually works. But I think we don't know all the information, so we can't judge what they're actually doing and if that's smart or not. And I am just a positive person in that sense. I trust the people that are working on something, that they know what they are working on, and not want to judge because I might have some kind of take on that, even though I'm not working on the subject. So that's my opinion. I think it might be fair to say as a customer, yes, Guild Wars 2 updates would be better for us, but maybe for them it's better to create a new game, or easier to do so. I don't know. Yeah, NCSoft might be really bad in terms of numbers, but the problem is Guild Wars 2 is carrying the numbers anyway, you know? So the amount of money they make, a lot of it is actually from Guild Wars 2, at least the consistent money. Yeah. I'm currently playing Dagger Celestial Catalyst. Yeah, I have to. That's really bad. I really dislike that. I don't want to look at it again. I just show it one more time. It's really bad that my achievements are stuck here on, or two of them are not perfectly filled. That's horrible. I really hate that. It's really, really bad. But I don't open this window anymore, so I'm happy with that. But I just got reminded, so it sounds really bad. Yeah. You take a lot of effort it took a lot of effort to avoid that. I mean, I was just happy that I did it after some time, you know, grinding for 16 different of those skins. It took a while and I was happy just to complete it. So I can see why you would not want to do that, but I think I was just happy that I did it at some point. I'm currently on Mirror of Lissa border. Yeah, I think, Tosho, I think that's just the mindset you should have. You know, if you are I think that's a general mindset I have in life. If I don't know enough about a topic, I don't want to judge people that are working in the topic, because maybe I don't have all the information. Maybe I'm just judging too fast, and I just don't want to do that. You know, if there, for example, what is a good example? I don't know. If someone tells me not to jump in this water because it's toxic or something, I don't say, no, I don't believe you, I will do it anyway. If this person works in some kind of pest control or whatever, I will not jump in the water. You know, it's like I rather trust someone that actually does apparently know what they are doing, than just saying, no, I would rather do it myself, or I think that might not be true. I think it's always better to be a little bit trustful in that sense. And if then you are, let's say, it's not true and what they said, that's bad. But I think in most cases, it's actually better to be on the safe side in that sense. Yeah, of course, Winslow, you're completely right. We are the customers. We have to judge. You know, if we don't say our opinion, they don't know what they're working on or what they should work on. But, and that's the important part here, I don't know. For me to say they should make Guild Wars 2 completely a reworked game would be the better option for them in terms of how they would make money and stuff. I can't tell you that. It's how do I know? I don't know the numbers behind that. I don't know how much money they would make with a new game, how much effort they have to put in a new game. I don't know anything of that, so I can't tell you that. We can tell our personal opinion, what we would like to see rather in that sense. Oh, they come back, they want to have a rematch. Yeah, that's definitely true. We can give them our opinion on that, but it should not be, so to say, we should not judge them in that way that we say, okay, they don't know what they're doing, they should just stick to Guild Wars 2. We don't know. Maybe that's not the smart move. Trust but verify. Very good summary. Oh my god, how many people are now coming. I have to leave this. This is too many. No, let me leave. Yeah. I like that Guild Wars 2 doesn't lock the better features on the game behind a paywall. Almost everything can be done with game currency. I think it's actually, I would say everything in the game can be done with in-game currency, which is actually insane. The only thing that can't be done is buying expansions, but that's a fair thing because the expansions is the thing that you actually pay for. It's like a new game. So I think that's what you should pay for. But I agree. I think that's one of the best features of Guild Wars 2 is that you have the option to say, okay, I go full in the game and don't pay anything, just play and get it. Or you can go for some new stuff and buy it if you don't have the time to actually farm. Is this a Condimic or what is this? No, okay, don't fight this. Yeah. Yeah, it's a Condimic, but I mean, I have too many cleanses for you, my friend. The customer is always right. And how much I hate that sentence, since the full phrase is the customer is always right in matters of taste. That's actually such a good short, you know, you cut it short in half to completely change the meaning. It's actually horrible. Yeah. Nice. 2 hours for Ankasiem. Nice. I like it. Did you beat it in the end at least? Oh, no crit. What is this guy playing? Stop it. Stop running. Come on. Rocket boots. Double rocket boots. Oh, come on. I don't want to fight it anymore. Blood is thicker than water. Another good one. There are a lot of weird sayings that are not always true, I would say. Yeah. Nice on the last try. That's what you like. Are this always No, there's different people, I guess. Let's fight them. You know, we already did a 1v3. Let's do another one. Oh. Oh. How many? Oh my gosh. Almost killed them. Killed the mount. But still. Yeah, I mean, I personally think I would like to have a new game because that would bring me as a content creator more enjoyment because I can create more content for a game that is new and might attract new viewers. That's my personal take. I can see why a Guild Wars 2 player would like to play Guild Wars 2 for longer and not have a new game. I can see both options. But for me as a gamer that wants to have some new fresh blood, I think that's definitely the better option. Oh, holy shit, that was so far off. Didn't even have to dodge that. Yeah, going for 1b, 2b. No, what is this here? I don't know. It seems like those guys are not really, they don't want to fight alone. I haven't seen an ally in the last half an hour on this map. It's actually, no one is here. It seems like I'm alone in trying to contest this map. It's very fun. At least I didn't die yet, but still. Come on, attack me, please, please, please. Okay, they are hunting me. You know, as a returning player, I have a lot of ideas on video guides. There is a lot of out-of-date information. A lot of things are searched while getting back into the game. Let me know what you mean by that. What exactly you look for, because that I'm really interested to see what is actually what you think is very worthwhile to actually make a video about, because I'm always looking for new video topics, even though it might take me a while to actually get to this idea because I have so many other things to do. But yeah, I will definitely like it. The streams are getting longer and longer. Yeah, I mean, I try my best. Oh my god, this Condi Enchi with rocket boots. It's, I mean, you can't win against me. What are you trying to do? Just annoy me, I guess. Annoy me to death. That's probably what he wants to do. I still have so much to be done in Guild Wars 2, and I understand guys that have achieved so much like you would want something new and exciting. Yeah, exactly. I think it's for a new player. You have so much in Guild Wars 2 that there is actually no real reason for them to say we can't let Guild Wars 2 be a completely game that is still worthwhile to play. You know, they should indeed, in my opinion, they should say Guild Wars 2, even if we release Guild Wars 3 in, let's say, 5 years, they should let Guild Wars 2 run. There is no reason to completely shut down Guild Wars 2 at this time. I mean, I think they should leave it running like Guild Wars 1. They should maybe even make new expansions for it. Maybe just smaller ones and stuff, but I think they should leave it. Just give us heroes and like in Guild Wars 1. I mean, I guess, why not, you know? Why not? Would you say World vs. World roaming is dead? I would say it's not dead, but I think it's not as fun as it once was. It feels like it's very, you have to play a really obnoxious build to actually have fun in roaming, and you don't really have any options in terms of, you can say I play a very fun roaming build. It's very unlikely that you will actually find a very fun roaming build that actually works in most scenarios, because typically it's like you play an absolutely broken build that can be fun, but it's not like a build where you say I specifically build crafted this build to work in this and this situation. No, you play a roaming build by using absolutely broken gear stats like Celestial, like some kind of Trailblazer Condi build, or you go for some kind of Marauder really high burst build, And that's about it. You know, there is not a real crazy build crafting for the most part in World versus World, because typically you just say, okay, I go crazy mode, and this guy, for example, plays Holosmith now, he's completely lost. I mean, he has no chance against the Celestial build like that. Not even close. He's playing a power Holosmith. It's just not gonna work. You know, he will lose, and that's why he swaps again. Goes out of combat. I mean, it would be interesting if the player base of Guild Wars 2 goes so low that we can't get, for example, the meta events anymore or get the dungeons and stuff. It would be interesting if you get some kind of option to actually solo stuff with heroes. I mean, I think that would be quite an effort to develop and to make work in Guild Wars 2, but I think it might be worth it. Oh, come on. No, he almost got the camp here. Steph once again, and I get the camp. Nice, there we go. Now he's dead. Yeah, I think Ainit did say they regret stopping development Guild Wars 1, so who knows, Guild Wars 2 might still be content. Yeah, I think that would be really good. I would like that a lot, because then for example, personally, if I don't get any content in Guild Wars 3 because they just can't put out that much, I can go back to Guild Wars 2 and have fun. And if I don't find any more content in Guild Wars 2, I can go back. I think that's very nice for just the longevity of my general Guild Wars 2 ArenaNet gameplay that I have. So one idea is just like the question I asked earlier. Best places to farm Central Tier Mastery experience. Most every video I found is at least 3 years old, and they don't actually go over farming XP locations. It's just insights that break down each of the masteries and what they offer. I think if you did like a 5-minute video on best solo group farming routes for each location, meta event, start location, and what to do, would be huge and could be... yeah, that's true. I mean, the problem is a lot of those things are in the base game. The core tier masteries, of course, they are in the base game. And I'm not sure if, let's say, the best grind there is typically some kind of group events, but those group events are very dependent on if you find people that actually do them. So, for example, I talked to you about the temples. So the temples are by far one of the best events there, yeah, to actually go. Because it's actually crazy how much stuff you can get there passively while farming gold, while being in a group there. But you need a group. You can't really do that solo. So if you don't have a group, you have to find something else. And it's always very dependent on top. If you find someone, if you don't find someone, and I think I should maybe split it in some solo events, some group events. But other than that, I think it's a really cool idea. Yeah. Problem is World versus World is very skewed towards Zerg balance. That's true. A lot of the long-term roamers have homebrewy builds that work for them specifically. Yeah. I think roaming I would say roaming is still alive, and it's not too, let's say, decrease the amount of numbers that people that actually play roaming, but I feel like it's not a game mode that they actually care about. You know, they balance stuff, and they balance stuff around Zerg gameplay, so people at least with 15 players around them, and that's how they balance, and that very often just nerf stuff from roamers as well. That's just how they typically do it. Yeah, do you want to fight me as a Deadeye with a scepter? That's what you want to do? Okay, I guess. Oh, it's a power scepter. Interesting. Very interesting build. That's a cook, I have to say. I mean... I don't know. I like fun builds in PvP and World vs. World. The meta builds are such a steep power creep sometimes. Yeah, it's a problem in Guild Wars 2. A lot of times the crazy good builds are just very, very good, and you can't compete on another build that is just, you know, your home brewed is not always the best option, because the meta builds are meta for a reason, and they are sometimes very, very high on top. Yeah. I saw an Unload Daredevil today in CM Strike. I didn't even know that they existed. Only knew about Unload Deadeye. I mean, I think Deadeye is better than an Unload Daredevil, but you can still make it work. It's not completely off, you know. You probably used similar gear and similar stuff. Yeah. I fought a Daredevil yesterday that was so good playing that. I stopped for some time to watch him fight other people in the middle of World versus World. I mean, interesting. I mean, it's always cool to see people that are really good at something. I really like to see that. Come on. Fight me, please. Welcome, Ali. I just got back to Guild Wars 2 after a short break. My YouTube algorithm has been pushing your videos, so here I'm. Perfect. I hope I can help you, and I'm glad that you are here. Oh, come on. It's not playing Condi or what? Holy shit. Crazy amount of damage here. Yeah, welcome to the stream. Welcome back to the game. I guess I will capture this as well. What Condi DPS is good for the first boss in Wing 5? Scourge is really good there, and Mirage is actually also quite good. But I would say Scourge is really good. In general, all Condi builds are quite good there, but Scourge is probably one of the best, or Condi Reaper. Everything that can bring Epidemic is really, really good on this boss. Yeah. Giala Dev's first meta is still the same. Yeah, I mean, Giala Devs is horrible. I personally don't like the meta. I mean, the first part is okay, but the second part is one of the worst metas in existence. I really dislike it. It's so slow and so boring. I don't like the tunnel. Yeah. Do you think Guild Wars 2 could do something radical like leaks, tweak balance mode, new servers like other MMOs keep doing? I think they could do it, but I think the problem is that the player base is very casual. And when I release, for example, on YouTube, I always release videos about balance updates, yeah? And I'm not joking. I really am not joking. Half of the comments say, oh my god, the balance is shit. Why do they keep balancing stuff like that? We don't want any balance. Just leave it like it is. I don't want stuff to change all the time. Yeah. So I personally think it's actually crazy that a lot of people just want to stay with the same stuff. And if you had leaks and stuff that were completely changing the gameplay of a just how you play it, the game, and have to swap gear and stuff all the time around, that not a lot of the casual players actually would enjoy that. So I'm not sure if they will ever do that. Have you checked out Rival Berserker? Yeah, the damage is crazy. I have not checked it out yet, but I saw a lot of people actually trying it, and it's actually looked really, really fun. No problem. Glad to help, actually, by the way. Yes, you can still spot on a melee spec Kern. It's completely the same. Nothing changed. Yes. Yeah, I really don't like the Giala devs. I think the first part is okay. It's not the best meta, but it's okay. But the second part is horrible. I really, really dislike it. Scourge roaming problem is too slow or die easy or low damage. Probably all of it. Yeah. So I personally think Scourge for roaming is decent in let's say in damage, but in terms of speed, it's actually not that good. In terms of sustain, it's okay, but because you're so slow, that means that you will die at some point because you can't run away. You can't just keep fighting people. I don't know. I feel like Scourge is not made for being as only, let's say, the, how is it called? A roamer or no support. Got him. The problem is that the enemy can simply move out of your shroud and you can do basically nothing. You can play Boon Wrap, Cross Scourge, but support, but you can't solo kill anyone. Yeah, I think Scourge is just not made for some kind of 1-on-1 or something. It's more like a support build, like some kind of big Zerg play where you have a lot of AoE. It's not made for that, and that's okay. Not everything has to work in every scenario because, you know, you trade your Shroud, which is really good in 1-on-1s, for something that is more supportive. So baseline, that makes you a little bit less good in solo content, which is roaming. So you have to accept that, I guess. Yeah. Yes, I'm German. All PvP Scourge was crazy good, that is true. It was absolutely insane. They covered the whole conquest point and they were absolutely crazy in terms of damage numbers and just barrier and cleanse access, but they completely nerfed everything about it and now it's not that good anymore, and not that good is probably too much. It's very bad right now, and it's just slow and somewhat tanky and does no damage, and that's why it's not run in PvP. But they should probably also not buff it, because at this point when it's playable, it's really obnoxious. Because how do you find against something that covers the whole point with very annoying skills all the time, and you have to keep the point to win? So what is the gameplay loop? How do you win there? I don't know. Kill the Scourge, but don't fight on the point. That's a little bit, that's not good. So that's why they will never bring it back, in my opinion. Yeah. Any class advice which is like Scourge, heal or shield, Condi, and good in PvP? What is Condi and good in PvP? I mean, I would say Reaper is really good, but Reaper doesn't have any defensives other than being active in terms of positioning and a lot of weakness application and that kind of stuff. So that's how I would say that's really good right now as a Condi build. But other than that, what is the best Condi build in PvP? I'm not so sure, actually. I have to heal here a bit. I mean, here he can't teleport to me, so I can heal a bit, and then I'm happy. Nice. You have a link to this build? Not yet, but I will make a build guide about it very soon. It's just Celestial and Dagger. Just a classic roaming build with a lot of nice stats, not too hard to play. Is this going to be a Reaper meta now that Ref and X3 has been nerfed? I actually think so. I think Reaper is actually quite good after this. It was already quite good in PvP, and I think it's getting even better now. Yeah. Any idea when we'll get the next update for Chantier Wilds? Yes, the next update will be in 28 days. How did that hit me? That's not fair. I have to get this guy, but I'm not sure if I can get to him. Maybe I have him. Maybe I have him. No. So close. I've been playing since before Heart of Thorns launched and logged in regularly to play through release live, but my shot breaks after was first Chantier Wilds release. Yeah, I mean, welcome back in. I mean, it's not like there is a lot of new content right now after Chantier Wilds, but it's still very fun to play, and I think you have still a lot of stuff to get actually going in the game. So, yeah, I think I played the game almost without any big breaks, and I still have content because I enjoyed that game so much. So, yeah, maybe I'm a little bit different, but still, I think there's a lot of stuff to be enjoyed about Guild Wars 2 right now. Yeah, glad that you are now a Reaper enjoyer. I think that's a very good thing. I can't block this projectile, and I can do this. Force the teleport, very good. Nice, get some healing, Where is the fucking thief? It's quite annoying. I have to admit. Gotcha. That was scary at some point, but I LOS'd quite well, so he could not always jump on me, so I was actually quite happy with it. Yeah, glad that you enjoy my Reaper. I think the Power Reaper solo build is really fun as well. I think Reaper is one of the best specs in PvE in terms of DPS. There's so many different DPS builds, it's actually quite fun. Really wanted to try crafting the obsidian armor. So I stopped chasing legendary weapons I don't need. Yeah, I think the Obsidian legendary armor is just a lot of grind in the open world, but it's not too bad. You actually, if you get it, you have a very worthwhile legendary. It's one of the best things to have a legendary armor, just in terms of general utility and convenience that you get from it. It's really, really good. As a new player, I love the range damage, big heal pool, not squishy. That's why PvP advice class I asked. I'm not experienced, some questions are newbie. That's okay. I mean, it's good to ask questions. So range damage in PvP right now is not really that common. You play more like typically you play more power or condi builds that are melee focused. Big heal. I would say Condi Reaper is probably the best fit. It's ranged, somewhat ranged, has decent health pool and is quite tanky, but it's also not that easy. I think a lot of classes in PvP, the meta classes, are not that easy to play. It's just by design. A very good build in PvP has to have a high skill ceiling, otherwise you wouldn't play it, because if it's too easy to get to the highest level, then it's probably not a very good build because they would probably already have nerfed it. So I would say Condi Reaper is a very good pick right now. What's your favorite class? My favorite class is always depending on the game mode, and I switch around a lot, so I don't have a favorite class. Currently in PvE it's Mesmer, but in PvP it's Necromancer, and I don't know, I think Elementalist might be my favorite one right now for roaming and just general world versus world, but I swap around all my classes. I play all the classes all the time. It's more like I play what I currently like the most on this day. It's more very, so to say, I don't know. I can't tell you this is my favorite class and this will not change. It changes almost daily when you look at the game modes. It's actually crazy. I would say Elementalist and Mesmer have been my favorite classes in the last few years for the most part. But before then, I enjoyed a lot of Revenant. I played a decent amount of Guardian as well. It depends a bit on the current meta state as well. Yeah. Did Herald get nerfed in the last 2 years? I thought it was top DPS, quick DPS. Yeah, it got nerfed quite hard. Nowadays, it's one of the worst quick DPS. It's very good in terms of quickness uptime or general boon uptime and utility and ease of use, but it's very bad in terms of damage. It is really, really, really low, which is okay. You don't have to be high DPS if you have a decent amount of utility in the kit. Yeah. I'm super close to crafting a Orine's Fang. I just need to unlock the legendary crafting. Yeah, I mean, that's really cool. I mean, as soon as you get it, then you will be really happy because this is I would say, one of the best Orine legendaries, maybe together with the mace. So that's a really cool achievement, and then you can even go for, if you want to go for them, the Orine skin variants, and you will be quite happy to have even more stuff to grind. So perfect, I would say. What Neko do you play in PvP? I'm playing Reaper. I'm a big Reaper enjoyer. I think Reaper is really fun. I specifically enjoy Condi Reaper because power is really bad right now. Power Reaper is not that good, but Condi Reaper is really, really good. It has amazing potential. It carries team fights. It carries 1-on-1s if you play them well. And you just can, if you survive, it's almost guaranteed that you win the fight. If you don't die, you win the fight because your damage is actually quite high. In World vs. World, Fresh Air Weaver and Marauder. Yeah, that's actually a very good pick. It's let's say, one of the best burst damage builds that you can play. But I would say, especially if you fight some kind of Trailblazer or something, you will not win if it's the same skill level. I think that's the sad part. I think Fresh Air Weaver is a very nice, niche, fun build that you can play, but it's not something that I would say everyone should play this. Oh my god, this guy is back. Thief mains. Playing 72 builds against me, but none of them work. There's the mob. If we can keep him in fight, then we will be happy, but I think he will just disengage. Does anyone use staff on support guardian? Yes, in PvE as a firebrand, and in World vs. World as a support in Cirque play. Yes, that is correct. There you use staff, but in PvP you can use it as a support core guardian as well, but it's not that good anymore. So I would say, yeah. Welcome, Yarik. Welcome, Yeretic. Welcome to the stream. I've been playing around with the conditioned druid roaming build in World vs. World and quite enjoyed it. Used to mainly play firebrand support, which I hope is still good. Yeah, it's very good. Not sure if any of the new weapons are better for support firebrand right now. I would say support firebrand didn't change that much. Yeah. I like to play Willbender. I think Willbender is not the craziest spec right now in terms of just raw output, especially for roaming. I think for roaming it's not as crazy as it once was, but it's still a very, very good pick. So that was a good dodge. He would have been dead. Got him. Yeah. Doesn't matter which kind of build you play, you lose, sadly. I'm sorry. Yeah, Willbender is really fun. I liked Willbender. I played it a lot in PvP in the last few seasons, but right now I'm swapped a bit more to Revenant. It's just a little bit more of a meta pick. Yeah. I don't enjoy fighting thieves in World vs. World. They're just running away and going invisible. Yeah, I mean, that's their design. I don't enjoy it as well, but I don't enjoy it neither. But I would say the problem is that's their defense. You know, if you take that away from them, no one would play them. And if you give it to them, it's annoying. So there is not a real good spot to be in, because I can see why you need to have stealth or at least some kind of mobility on a thief, because otherwise you see this guy died very, very fast. So that's just how it goes, I guess. But it's not very fun in that sense to actually fight it. I agree. Yeah. In World vs. World Zerging, they changed stuff for Spear. That's true. That's true. That's true. You're right. You're right. Spear is now the new meta build in World vs. World for Firebrand, because it's so good in terms of Condi cleanses and just general support. Very good point, Filthy. Very good. Just got into the game a few days ago. Any tips for farming gold and stuff? So gold farming in Guild Wars 2 are two things. First of all, if you just play the game and have fun and just engage with content, you get a lot of gold passively. And second of all, I would recommend farming some kind of meta events in open world if you enjoyed it, or farming some kind of fractals, for example. Daily fractals are really good if you reach level 80 already. You can do them daily and get a lot of gold passively, up to 50 gold per hour, so to say, if you farm that consistently and do it well. But for a new player, you can also check out my top 10 gold farm video, where I talk about all the, in my opinion, easier access and quite nice gold farms, and also tell you how much the numbers are. But I think there are so many ways in Guild Wars 2 to farm gold. I can't list them in a stream. I can't just say, oh, this is very good, this is what you should click and always do. Fishing is quite good if you like to have some relaxing gold farm. If you like to play dungeons, you can farm dungeons. You can farm gold with, for example, playing raids. You can just make open world bosses. There's so many options. Even World vs. World and PvP give passive gold. So play whatever, you will get gold. Yeah. So Revenant in World vs. World, I think you play. I'm not completely sure what the current meta for Revenant is. I might have to look it up. So maybe ask someone in chat that actually knows. I'm not sure. Maybe Filthy knows. Maybe someone that plays more Revenant in World vs. World knows. I don't play Revenant in a Zerg. I'm not completely sure. I think Vindicator plays with Staff as a support weapon and Scepter or something, but I mean, it's not that broken anymore. What builds would you pick for soloing dungeons? It depends a bit on the dungeon. I think Mesmer is quite good for soloing dungeons because you have reflects, but you can also go for Guardian, some kind of Dragon Hunter, or Willbender. This is really good because you have reflects. But you can also go for Thief or Thief is probably one of the best specs for soloing because you're so fast. Because in dungeons, you not only need to have damage and utility, but you also have to move fast between A and B to get to the next boss and stuff. So that's why I would recommend going for something fast, like a scrapper, like a thief. But every single build or every single class can solo dungeons. There is not a single class that can't do it. But of course, you want to be a power build, you want to be fast, and you want to be somewhat utility heavy. So you want to have some reflex, you want to have maybe some stability and stealth access and that kind of stuff. Yeah. That's what I want to have. But there are a lot of ways to solo dungeons, and for the most part, just play a raid build and you actually are able to solo dungeons. It's more about the knowledge about a fight than the classical build choosing for that. Yeah, if that makes sense. Because it's just way more. You have to just understand how dungeons work, and then you can solo most of the bosses in them. And if you don't know how they work, then you will die on any build anyway. Revenant in general still hasn't clicked for me. Maybe one day I'll find a build I enjoy. It's a shame because I like the concept of Revenant. Yeah, the problem is sometimes you like the concept of a class, but if there is currently no build that you enjoy, then maybe you should try a different class and come back to it later, you know? There was a time I played only Revenant. I think that was, yeah, somewhat, let's say 4 years ago or something, where I played a lot of Condi Revenant. Yeah, specifically Condi Herald in PvP and Condi Renegade in PvE. It was really fun. It was really fun. I played it almost all the time, and it was not only fun, but it was also really good then. So that's one thing. But in my opinion, that changed after a while, and I did not enjoy it that much because they did some changes to it. They nerfed it as well, and then I didn't enjoy it that much, and I swapped to another class. And that's what I'm doing all the time now. I'm swapping to the class that I enjoy the most right now. Go for a new build, try something new. And if you're at that point where you can say, okay, this is not for me, I try something else, then you will come back at a later point in time, and you will maybe just come back and say, wow, this is really cool. I enjoy it right now. So that's the cool thing about Guild Wars 2. You will never lose something. It's not like you have the highest gear set right now, gear stats, and then you come back 1 year later and you have to grind it again. No, you have the gear set right now and you can come back whenever you want. That's really, really good. Yeah. But I would agree that Revenant is currently, I would say, in competitive modes, it's actually quite good. But in PvE, it's actually quite lackluster. I really hope they rework some kind of, especially healing Revenants. I think those are really bad, and I really hope they rework those, but I feel like even Herald and Renegade should get some kind of rework to make them a little bit more attractive. Okay, we have another Thief 101. Why is everyone playing Thief today? And this guy is even playing again some kind of weird stuff, but is instantly dead, I guess. The PvP meta will change a lot with this Revenant nerfs. I would say they hit quite hard, yes, but I'm not sure if it will change immensely because, to be honest, they nerfed X-Thief and they nerfed Revenant. That's about it, you know. What will change? Those two builds will go down, and you will see other builds being played more, but will that change a lot? I'm not sure. I think Condi Reaper is really good right now then, and I feel like maybe because of that, Bunker Protection Holo will come back because Protection Holo is absolutely insane against Condi classes, but I'm not sure if it will change that much. I would really hope it changes a lot, but I feel like it's too little amount of changes to actually make really crazy amount of things happen, because it's only 2 classes that are affected. And for what Thief spec would you use for open world clear? I would probably, oh, there are a lot of people here. I would probably use for open world, Deadeye is really, really good, but it's quite squishy, so if you don't like to be a squishy melee build, then you would go for Spectre. Spectre is tanky, a little bit slower in terms of DPS, but it's still very, very good. So Spectre and Daredevil. Spectre and Deadeye, that's what I meant. Welcome, Silver Reaper, welcome. I'm doing good, I'm doing good. I hope you're doing fine as well. Yeah, I think Reaper is a class that a lot of people enjoy, but especially if you play it in PvP, it's a class that people think it's easy, but it's actually, it's one of the classes where positioning matters the most. So if you don't position correctly when you're playing a Reaper, then that means that you will die and you don't have any value. As soon as you position yourself correctly, you will not only survive, but you will also be able to deal damage to the enemy team while you are somewhat safe. And if you learn to do that consistently, you can carry the match by keeping people on you to try to kill you while you run away and pressure them to some extent and just survive for a long time. If you can learn that, then you will carry. But I feel like Reaper is, a lot of people think, oh, in PvE it's an easy build. It is a decently easy build in PvE, but as soon as you go into competitive modes, Reaper gets very hard to master. That's just the truth. Yeah. I think Ref was defining the meta because all other builds had to answer. How do I deal with the Herald? I agree, that's true. It was absolutely broken. Everyone had to adjust to a Herald, but I'm not completely sure if that will completely change. I think Herald is definitely still playable after the patch. You know, it's not completely. Yeah. I started with Necromancer and Reaper, and when I switched to try another class, I found out that I had to do mechanics. Yeah, exactly. I feel like Reaper in PvE is like, it's a very, it's not, I wouldn't say easy mode, but it's a class that is definitely on the easier side. And if you spot from Necromancer in general and go to another class, it might become way harder because you're squishier, you get more punished for mistakes you make. It's usual, it's normal, this happens, yeah. Mainly play PvE, so I've been cycling between my favorite Mesmer and Ranger. I did enjoy PvP back when Heart of Thorns was the only expansion out, but I like World vs. World more now, if I want a bit of PvP. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, World vs. World is the casual PvP, so to say. It's more, you jump in, you play a bit, you don't have to really play try hard, you can just do whatever you like and you will get some rewards for it. If you play PvP, it's more like you get punished a lot for being not that good and not that try hard, which is not for everyone, that much is true. What's the top 3 classes for soloing champions and legendaries if it's possible to solo legendary bounties? I would say Untamed, Reaper, and what's the last one? Probably even Chronomancer, or maybe Willbender. Those are really, really good. Yes, I'm streaming on Twitch and YouTube. That's correct. I also have a lot of guides on my YouTube channel about Reaper, so if you're not finding something by me, you can also check out Savari Reaper, but of course, I should also cover some of that stuff, so my guides are more for multiple classes, so keep that in mind. Any advice on fighting Virtuoso as a warrior, Spellbreaker, or Circum PvP? You should dodge the spear attacks, this is the most important part, and learn to see the animation of the shatters. So if you can dodge the shatters consistently, the Virtuoso does no damage. So that's the biggest part. You can block them with your full counter if you play Spellbreaker, and other than that, it's really just a skill matchup. Can you see and dodge the attacks of the enemy that are worth dodging? So the shatters and or the blade songs rather, and the spear attacks, so spear 2 and spear 5. If you dodge that consistently or avoid it, block it, whatever, then you will be good and you will kill it in no time, or at least will win the matchup. Yeah. Yeah, Filthy. Get well soon and see you next time. Good night, good night. Really enjoying Condi Willbender and PvE after your guide. I think Condi Willbender is really underrated. It's such a fun, really fast-paced deck. It's crazy good as well, and it has, I would say, to reach 37k or something in a group scenario is actually very easy to do. But if you reach 45k, you know you're a master in the class. I think there is some really nice, easy to get into, hard to master build. It's really fun. I really enjoy it a lot. I think it's one of the best Guardian builds right now in terms of that. It's really fast-paced. It's really fun to play. It's not as, let's say, boring and slow, but it's yeah, I like it. Yeah. Oh, we have a nice 1-on-1 against the Vindicator here. I'm not sure if I can win this. They have a lot of damage and dodges, but I mean, I can try. I mean, they don't have a lot of Condi cleanses. They just have a lot of dodges. I like to fight Condi builds more in this build, obviously. But I still think this is winnable, even though it's quite hard. It's a very good roaming build, Vindicator, if you can play it. Nice, got the interrupt on the 3 skill. I have to concentrate here a bit. Sorry, guys, if I can't talk too much. I just want to don't lose this 1-on-1. It was not a very good CC. I'm not sure. This is too fast for me, I guess. Permadodge Vindicator. Yeah, I don't want to fight that. Mirage hits very hard, but it's also very squishy. If you can counter pressure a Mirage, you will probably win because they have less sustain than you and they have to be really defensive and don't deal any damage. I have a guide on my YouTube channel how to fight Mesmers. If you look for that, it actually explains in detail how to fight Mesmers, not only Mirages, but also Virtuosos and stuff. So that can help you a lot, actually. So maybe you should take a look at that. Yes, Celestial Untamed is really good for soloing. It's another really, really good one. Definitely. Vindicator is not for everyone. It's a lot like you dodge a lot of stuff. It feels like a Dragoon or something, and it's fun, but it's also not for everyone. It's just the summary. Yeah. What do you suggest for a beginner? Better play Pistol Unload Thief or something more hard for the long run and for the main tool? I think you can start out with a Pistol Thief, but it will not be the end goal. So it depends a bit on you. If you are willing to switch after a while, then go for Pistol Unload Thief, because then you can easily switch. But if you enjoy going for the same build and want to master it from the start, I would go for something different. Yeah. Maybe go for my low intensity Soul Beast guide, Ranger, and that can easily, that you don't have to swap any gear around and you still get the same level of, you just increase the numbers of buttons you press and at some point you reach the maximum build damage, so to say. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's also the end of today's stream, so I hope you enjoyed. It's late already where I am, so thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for the follows and subs, really appreciate it. Be sure to check out my YouTube channel if you haven't already. Last day to actually enter the giveaway. We have a giveaway on my YouTube channel. Almost forgot to mention it. You have one more day left to enter. We have almost 2.5k gold giveaway on my YouTube channel. Be sure to check out. I will send the link. Give me a second. And be sure to check that out. Here's the link. And yeah, be sure to check it out. If you're on YouTube, just search for it. It's in my last few videos. I have it up there. And yeah, thanks everyone for watching. And it was a really nice stream. And I hope to see you tomorrow. See you around. Good night.